Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Gaming Stooges Talks podcast. We are the Gaming Stooges.
I'm Jack.
You can call me Cloud.
And I'm Landon.
We hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and if you do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitch, or joining our Discord. Let's get on with the show.
Surprise! We're actually here for another live. We didn't think this was going to happen, but
Here we are.
We're going to talk about Sonic a lot in this podcast.
Are we going to talk about Sonic, or are we talking about Shadow?
We're going to talk about both, actually. So, we got two things to review tonight. First, we've got the Sonic Cross Shadow Generation, Sonic X Shadow Generations game that came out recently. And also the new Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. We're going to start with the game, and then we'll go to the movie after that, since they were released in that order. For Sonic X Shadow Generations, we are probably not going to talk too much about the Sonic Generations part, but we'll go over what little differences there are, because Sonic Generations, is a 13-year-old game, and we have talked about that more than enough.
But we have never done a proper single review.
We have not.
It's true.
Or we have not done a Let's Play / stream series for it. So,
kind of shocked. But true. I also, we gave.
And now that I have stalled for time in order to look up the release date of the game because I forgot, Sonic X Shadow Generations came out on October 25th, 2024. And it is available on all of your major current platforms. So you got PC, you got Xbox Series X/S, you've got PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch. It is also on PlayStation 4 because...
Why?
Because they still want to put out PlayStation 4 games. I don't know, man. So before we jump into the full review for the game, let's just throw it out there. What system did you guys get the game on?
Switch.
I got it on PS5, so we'll have a couple different perspectives here to go in. So Sonic Cross Shadow Generations is a couple package. You've got the original Sonic Generations game, and then you have the new Shadow Generations game. Now, Sonic Generations came out 13 years ago in 2011, and it's got your 9 zones. You play as modern Sonic or classic Sonic. You've got one level for each of them in each zone. You've got your usual red rings, you've got all the power-ups that you can unlock, you've got the rival and boss fights, all that good stuff. There are a few small changes, just a few small changes. Every level now has 3 Chow that can be collected in addition to your red rings, and you also have a small tweak to the default control scheme. But you can change the controls around, so it's not really a big deal.
Did you guys play with the new controls, or did you play with Legacy? Because I could not get behind the new controls at all.
I went with the new controls.
I have no idea.
So, let me explain, actually, so Landon knows the difference. But basically, the new controls, the major difference is that the boost is now on the trigger button, specifically the right trigger. The old controls was the left face button on the controller, square button if you were playing PlayStation, X button if you were playing Xbox. Switch would emulate this with the Y button instead, but basically that button was your boost by default back then. So they changed it to the trigger. It's just to emulate and follow up on Frontiers, because that's how it plays that's how they do it in Frontiers.
And I also changed it when I played Frontiers, too, so...
I didn't. I just decided to go with it. I was like, fuck it. We ball.
I think I used the new control scheme.
I tried to, and I just, my muscle memory from my, dozens upon dozens of hours of playing not only Generations, but Unleashed and Colors, just, the muscle memory of pressing Y or square to boost is too strong. I could not get used to pressing trigger to boost.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I am fine with the trigger because this is subjective. This is kind of just me personally. I find it easier to be able to boost and jump at the same time, and just being able to do that with the trigger is like, yeah, I'll if I can control myself better between like boosting and doing a second action, then I'll probably put it on the trigger. So that's why I did it. But otherwise, the game is largely the same. It does have some small upscaling of textures and shaders, but it's not too different. It is now running on the Hedgehog Engine 2 before it was the Hedgehog Engine 1. It's going to be more similar to the PC release because of the resolution and frame rate if you're playing on the HD versions, but the Switch version, does the Switch version of Sonic Gens, that still plays at 30 on Switch, or is that just for Shadow Gens? It's the whole package?
It's 30 for both.
Okay, I remember now. Shadow Gens is, I believe, 30 no matter which version you're playing for frame rate, I believe. If I remember correctly. If I remember correctly, I think the PC version might be able to do 60, but I'm not certain.
I'd be shocked if the PC version couldn't do 60.
I would be shocked if it could.
I know that
Let's be real.
I know the PS4 version of Shadow Gens, I'm pretty sure it plays in 30 because the PS4 version. But yeah. But anyway, any comments on like the Sonic Generations itself, because it is a game we've talked about. I mean,
I did play through the entirety of Generations before I touched Shadow Generations because, you know, I wanted to give myself a refresher on how the game played because it had been a while since I had played Generations front to back, and I did it very quickly and very easily. It still plays exactly how I remember with, you know, like you said, a few slight tweaks in terms of collectibles, and there's some very minor dialogue changes as well.
Yep. Okay. Good that you point that out.
But no, Generations is still classic. It's still a great game.
I'll just say that I did not play it front to back before I jumped into Shadow Gens. I played a chunk of it, and then I was like, okay, I feel warmed up enough. I think I got through all of the modern Sonic levels and almost all of the classic Sonic levels. Sans like a couple of the like the modern era levels that were, I think, like Rooftop Run and Planet Whisper, the only ones I didn't do. So I came back for those after I played through Shadow Gens, and I would end up I still don't like the time meter, man. Like I know how to beat it, but it's just it's so dumb.
I've played Generations so many times that time meter is just like, you know, piss baby easy. Like there's not really too much of a challenge to it, but it's really
so long.
It's stupid. It's a stupid fight, and it takes too long.
And they take they since it takes forever, everybody keeps talking about the goddamn homing shot.
I'm honestly thankful that they didn't change that. I think I would have been like annoyed, like if they weren't constantly shouting at me to watch out for the homing shot.
To be honest, like in a weird, ironic way, it kind of helped me like continue playing because but other than that, I mean, it's Sonic Generations. I love the game. I don't usually go for the completionist aspect of it like some people might. I know Jack, you played it a lot with like all the challenge acts and stuff like that.
I got the platinum in the original game,
and Al's also done that. I almost played it completely on the PS3, but I haven't done quite the same here. But I mean, I still enjoy the game. The levels are really well designed. I love the aesthetic. The soundtrack is really good, and you get a bunch of songs you can like swap in if you want. Another small change is that because of the boost being mapped to the shoulder button by default, that is also the button for your just like one button spin dash as classic Sonic as well, which is weird. If you're playing with that control scheme, I will say that is weird just to get into instead of just pressing square. That they also did include the drop dash, but I never use it. Like,
the drop dash, honestly, like,
it's nice to have, but you don't need it.
It hurt me more times than it helped me, honestly.
Yeah. So like I would just stop and just use the one button spin dash.
Yeah.
Did you make use of the drop dash, Landon?
I don't know what that is.
It's when you like fall on.
It's
when you're like falling and you like press the spin dash button right as you hit the ground, so you get a boost when you go forward.
You don't even need to hit it right as you hit the ground, as long as you're holding it as you fall. If you're holding it, it'll like you can press it as soon as you've pressed it. As soon as you're in the air, as long as the button is registered as press when you land again.
I've literally
did not know that.
I've never used that, and if I ever play this game ever again, I will go out of my way to make sure I don't.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
sounds gross and disgusting. -3 points.
-3 points right there for drop
right
dash
there.
in Sonic.
We're gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring back the rating of a game.
Oh
boy.
goodness. So, but yeah, we all appreciate Sonic Generations, so we've talked about it enough. We're gonna stream it in the near future, not so distant future, maybe. We'll find out.
Sorry, Landon. How many points did it lose?
3.
It lost 3 points.
We start at 5, right?
Yeah, sure.
We started at 5.
I don't know.
I remember we started at 5. So let's jump into Shadow Generations. So, basically the game, you select the game that you want to play at the start on the menu. It's basically the same way that you can select Bowser's Fury instead of Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. It's that same setup on the main menu. Now, Shadow Gens, I will admit, I did not expect it to be as full of a game as it ended up being. There's a lot more here than I expected. Because when the game was being advertised, it was like, we were showing like bits and pieces, so I didn't know what to expect, whether it was going to be like a bit more of a step up from like the Forces representation or what. You were going to say something?
I had a thought and I lost it.
I should have just cut myself off when I saw you getting ready to say something. But I remember just like when I was watching the trailers for it, I was like, is this supposed to be like 3 levels in like a boss fight or 2 or something? Is it? But no, it's a full game. So you have 6 zones, and just like Sonic side, they are based off of pre-existing locations. These ones largely stuff that Shadow's been to instead that are more important to his story. And there's also a white space area, but rather than it being 2D, where it's just like a flat surface with platforming above, it's a big 3D open zone. It's similar to Frontiers. It's not quite as big as any of the Starfall Islands, but it is fairly large. You got a little playground to go through, like little loop-the-loops or grind rails and all this other cool stuff. It'll get you unlockable chests that you can get cool stuff from. You'll be able to play around with the different power-ups that you'll be able to get, because Shadow gets a bunch of abilities called Doom Powers. So let's before we talk about the levels, let's talk about the Doom Powers.
I think what I was going to say earlier is just that in more ways than just the menu, this game is very similar to Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Like, this is literally the Sonic version of Bowser's Fury in many ways. Like, the big, like, open hub that you explore.
Yeah.
And like all the little, like, collectibles that you can find in that hub. Like, very Bowser's Fury feeling.
Yeah,
but yeah, we can talk about the Morph.
Yeah, I liked that aspect though, just to bounce off of what you're saying, because it's like you don't notice it until you start making the comparisons after and realize, like, it's not like they were just copying the homework. It was just like, let's take your idea and then like take what we've already done in the past and then adapt it, and it works. Yeah, but Shadow gets a series of Doom powers. So you have the
Chaos Sphere.
Yeah, it's the Chaos Spear. gets that first. You also get I might be starting to say these out of order, but there's a Doom Surf ability where you can like surf on a weird like I don't know what to describe it as.
Doom
It's
surfboard.
It's a surfboard of some sort. You'll be able to do that. You get Doom wings, which you've originally only got a taste of, but later on in the game near the end, you'll be able to actually access them in full. Is there another one I'm missing?
It's the Doom Morph is what you're missing.
Doom Morph, that's the one. Yep. He gets to like... He basically does like a Splatoon thing. Like he goes into goo and like travels along.
Is kind of a Splatoon thing. Doom
It
Morph...
is 100% a Splatoon thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Shadow was an Inkling.
He is.
Al says in the chat, fuck the Doom Morph mechanic. And I don't entirely agree. It took me a while to get used to.
Yeah.
Because it is like really weird to control. And it's like if you don't boost, it's really sluggish. Like it moves around in the goo like really slowly. But if you boost, it sends you fucking flying. And it is very unwieldy.
Yeah.
I don't understand how I'm supposed to swing with it sometimes, because sometimes it's just like, let's go.
Okay, the swing is weird. There's like, I had to Google this, and I found a post on the Sonic subreddit that really explained it better than the game itself does. If you press B, like just press it instead of holding it when you're like aiming onto one of the balls that's hanging in midair, you will just warp to it like a homing attack, and you'll just like kind of maybe get a little bit of a jump boost after it.
Yeah, so it like goes, you shoot forward at the same trajectory you came at the ball of goo at.
If you hold B, then you will start swinging, and at the end of the swing you will automatically let go, and then it'll like fling you forward and you'll like move on to the next one. But the way you shoot upwards, and this took me a while to figure out, you need to let go of the B button when Shadow is at like the 90-degree angle, like the perfect like vertical angle underneath the sphere to shoot upwards. It's weird.
And
I had to look it up to know how to clear one of the missions, because I could not figure it out on my own. The game doesn't explain it very well.
I hate that. Fuck the Doom Morph mechanic.
It's really weird. But like,
should have replaced it with a fucking gun. Minus 2 points.
But we already have the Doom Spears. That's the gun.
I want a real gun. Okay?
Oh, the Doom gun.
Yeah, Doom gun.
All right.
Okay. Well, it's a little weird. It's a little clunky. What did Al say? Getting the S rank for Chaos Island was really annoying thanks to the morph ability. Yeah, I agree with that.
Before we, I don't want to like jump too far ahead, but so all of these Doom powers will be incorporated into the stages, as we were alluding to with specifically the Doom morph, because I guess we wanted to talk about that one specifically for like 5 minutes.
Surf is used a bit as well in some of the stages.
And then there's a lot of levels are designed in a way that you can use Doomwing. It's not really required, but you can make use of it to like really cheese a bunch of the levels as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, you got something to say?
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to kind of like change the subject and just trying to like go over the powers individually and how I thought about them, but...
Oh, no, go ahead. But before, because I was going to change the subject and move it all along.
Okay, so out of the 4 main ones, which I think is just Chaos Spear,
He also has Chaos Control as well. So
true. The Chaos Control... Chaos Control is exactly what it is. It's just a time stop. You press the left trigger and then you stop time for 5 seconds. And that's it. There are some missions that utilize it in really cool ways, I think. It stops the game timer as well, so you can like manipulate the timer to like help yourself get a better ranking. It
does have use in a few main stages as well.
Yeah.
particularly there's one that I want to talk to when we talk about the actual levels. I don't want to like talk too much about levels specifically till we get to them, but
yeah. Chaos Spear, I actually like Chaos Spear a lot because I learned that you can use it, like just hold the X or triangle or Y or whatever top button. You can just hold it passively, and like as soon as you are within range to target something, it will be automatically targeted. So like you can use that to like kind of carry momentum throughout a level if you know it's coming up. You can just hold X before you even see it and then just blah, and then you can homing attack it or whatever.
And then you'll also be able to upgrade that pretty shortly into the game, where that will allow you to lock onto a bunch of stuff at once and shoot a bunch of spears all out at the same time.
Yeah. And I think it's cool.
So that's the spears.
The surf, I like it. I like it as a because we'll get into it later, but there's one level that heavily features like water in its original form. Shadow was using a vehicle, but they decided to change it so that it's just like he's surfing and
he just has enough power that can do it.
It's a little unwieldy, and I'm not crazy about the shoulder button attacks that you do because they can be weird. And against one of the boss fights is pretty annoying because of it.
Don't talk about that. I don't like that.
We'll get to it.
-1 point for the fucking Doom Manatee fucking thing.
Now you've already said quite a bit about Doom Morph, so why don't we skip on your thoughts on Doom Wing?
Doom Wing took me a minute to get used to. And learning like really how it worked, but like once I figured it out and like learned the paths that the game like wants you to take when you're using it, like in the final level, for example, right after you unlock it. Once I figured it out, it's pretty easy to control. I wouldn't use it like all the time, but it's pretty fun. It's an interesting way to break the game.
And worth noting is that the game makes a very big deal of it because there are 2 different rankings with and without using it.
Yep.
So you can play through the level with every level with it and get a separate rank from every level that you play without it. So if you're really going for completionist, you're going to be doing both.
I kind of like that they do that, actually. It makes it a pain in the ass because it means there's twice as many S ranks to get, but also it means that like your original time is never going to be like unbroken if you use the Doom Wings.
Use it. I like it, and it makes me wish that Sonic Colors did that for Super Sonic, because Super Sonic is a totally different beast in Sonic Colors, and in fact, he's not good at getting S ranks.
No.
So it would have been cool if there was a separate ranking system for Super Sonic, but what are you going to do? There's already like a fucking 50 levels that they had to account for, so like I bet they just didn't want to have to account for that a second time with Super Sonic. I guess that makes sense. But, so that was your thoughts on the Doom powers. I like them all by and large. I think that they're a really cool way to extend Shadow's abilities. To me, a lot of the abilities kind of feel like they're like the counterpart to Sonic having some of the Wisp power-ups, except he just has them at all times, as opposed to having to unlock them. That's the way I felt about a couple of them. Especially the Wisp, the Wing, and not the Wisp, the Surf, Wing, and Morph. Like those all just feel like Wisp power-ups in some way. Just Wing being super powerful version of that. So it's kind of like analogous to that. I don't really have much to say. I just liked using them. I don't really have any like major qualms. Like you guys said, they're kind of hard to use a couple of them at first, and with the learning curve, but like once you get the hang of it, they're pretty reliable, so I had a fun time using them.
Landon?
Should have just give him a gun. Just a real gun.
No.
A real human gun.
I'll point out that as Landon is mentioning this, the vibe of Shadow Generations is very much like Shadow the Hedgehog 2. Like they really went with like the aesthetic, the theming, the fact that spoiler alert, Black Doom is back. No wonder he has these power-ups. But Black Doom being involved in the plot, like it's all very Shadow the Hedgehog 05 ish. So like, the only thing they didn't do was give him the gun. You're right. They just didn't give him a gun.
And vehicles to drive.
True.
Should have given him a fucking car.
But
and a boat.
Let's get into
a gun boat.
Let's get into the levels that we get to play through. So there's 6 major levels. There is also 1 DLC level you can buy separately. But the 6 major levels you have Space Colony Arc, which is kind of a composite level. It is largely based off, I believe the name is Final Chase. I always get Final Rush and Final Chase mixed up.
Final Chase is Shadow's level, yeah.
So Final Chase from Sonic Adventure 2, but obviously, as the name implies, it has elements of some of the Arc levels from Shadow the Hedgehog, but the music is a remix of Final Chase. So you got that. And then the second one is Rail Canyon. Obviously, because it's also Rail Canyon, it has elements of Bullet Station. There might be a slight hint of Sky Rail. I definitely was thrown off and thought I was playing Sky Rail for a second. And I was like, wait, this is Rail Canyon Bullet Station. The third level that we get to play is Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06. Then you have Sunset Heights from Forces, which is a level he did get to play through, so that makes sense. And then we get to a level that Shadow's never been to before. And there's apparently a plot explanation for it. But he gets a level based on the Starfall Islands from Sonic Frontiers called Chaos Island. And when I say it's based off the Starfall Islands, I mean it. Because that level is like a composite of like multiple islands. You don't get like a big massive tour of the whole thing, but you really get to like kind of go through a lot of checkpoints among multiple of them, so that's really cool. And then the final level, which they tease throughout the entire game in bits and pieces, we'll talk about how that works, is Radical Highway, Shadow's first ever appearance in gameplay form in a Sonic game, period. They decided that was going to be like the coup de grace to wrap everything up. And then if you buy it separately, there's a DLC level based on Tokyo from the Sonic 3 movie. We'll talk more about that later. But it is a level you can play through.
I've not played the DLC level yet. I've not bought the DLC yet.
I just bought it and played it today.
It is $6.
It is $6. It is only one level, but it is
one act.
But it is decent length. Like it's about on the shorter side as far as Shadow Generations levels go, because it's 4 minutes instead of 6 or something. But it is a decent length, and you also get to collect posters. You get to collect stuff in the other levels. It's like keys to unlock stuff. You don't have red rings in this game. I don't know. I don't know where I was going.
They're keys. And I kind of like how this game does this, actually. They are keys that unlock treasure chests in the main hub that you find in the white space that you kind of explore the space and, solve some puzzles to try and find some of the treasure chests. And I think it's really cool, actually.
How'd you guys feel about the white space replicating the open zone from Sonic Frontiers?
I like it. I mean, it's not too overcomplicated, but it's what it needs to be for a hub world. And you can fast travel to any location as easily as you need. So it's not difficult to navigate either. So
it gets the job done. You can, there's plenty of, they throw in a lot of collectibles in this game.
They do.
Between all the stuff that you can get from the treasure chests and also bolts.
There's a lot of fucking bolts too.
There's a lot of bolts.
I did not even come close to getting all the bolts.
And there's the doctor, is it it's Gerald Robotnik's journal entries.
Yep. He has
there's a lot of collectibles to find.
If you bought the day one edition, you get a physical version of that journal, and it's pretty fucking badass.
I think it's extremely cool, and to like have like, you know, just Gerald's thoughts and like progress on the entire like timeline of the existence of Shadow the Hedgehog as a character. It's really cool. Landon's holding it right now.
Little itty bitty baby version for the Switch version.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the levels a bit, and then we'll get back to the story and the bosses as well. Maria. But those are the levels. I have to say, most of the stages, not all of them, but most of them are split between two acts where one is like fully 3D, and then the other one is 2D, but it's more along the lines of the 2D segments of modern Sonic and Generations, where you'll often have dynamic camera angles, and there'll be a lot of moments where you won't actually be on just the same 2D plane. You might go around a corner or something like that. You'll still be in 2D as far as controls go. But
it's 2.5D for the most part.
It's more dynamic. It's not like the way that they handled it in Sonic Colors. So it does still feel, it doesn't feel as 2D.
It's like 2.73 2D.
That sounds like a Kingdom Hearts title. You're really good at this.
Sonic Cross Shadow Generations 2.73 2D.
Thank you. Excellent.
I really like the way they do the acts in this game. Like Act 1 being fully 3D, and then Act 2 being like, for all intents and purposes, 2D. Because one of my biggest problems with base Generations is that like you have a split between classic and modern Sonic, but modern Sonic still has some 2D levels, or like not levels, but like 2D segments. So I don't know, it just like I always just kind of wish they did a little bit more with the 3D spaces in Generations, base Generations anyway. But Act 1 in Shadow Generations is 100% 3D. Like, there are no 2D segments at all. And I think that's pretty fucking cool. And I really like the 2D levels too, actually. Like, I think the game controls really well in 2D. And the fact that they're separated, like, makes me appreciate each version more. You know?
I agree, and I want to build off that. I feel like because of how they design the levels in this game, there's more intention to each of the acts as they are perspective-wise. Because, like, you can feel, like, the modern Sonic levels, and this isn't just Sonic Generations, this is Sonic Colors, this is Sonic Unleashed, this is Sonic Forces, where, like, because they're going back and forth between the 3D and 2D, it feels like that level isn't fully realizing the potential it could have because it's trying to juggle doing both. Whereas the Shadow Generations levels, it feels like these levels are all really reaching their full potential because they're just sticking to the bit. And I love it. Like you said, even the 2D levels, like, they're fantastic. I like how dynamic they are, I mentioned. And the 3D levels, oh, they're so good. Oh, they're so good. Kingdom Valley is like one of the best levels in any Sonic game IMO as far as 3D stages goes. Like Kingdom Valley Act 1, oh my god, it is so peak.
How do we feel?
I'm changing my opinion now. Thanks.
Oh, okay. How do we feel about the level choices for this game? Because that was a very like contentious like talking point for the original Generations. I
think I would have picked a different Sonic Heroes level personally.
I would have picked the other. For Sonic Heroes, I really, really just think about Eggman's facility when I think about Episode's Shadow from that, which was his like other like level. It was like based off of Mystic Jungle.
Wait,
Sorry, not Sonic
about?
Heroes. I'm thinking Sonic Forces.
Oh, Jesus. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm skipping ahead. Anyway, there should have been more of the whatever the jungle version of from that game was, because
I know.
Frog
Forest. Yeah.
Forest. Why not?
I
have it all forest levels.
So
Oops.
I don't necessarily disagree. I think my main issue is that aesthetically, all of these levels are much more. I mean, it's a Shadows thing, but they're more grittier. You don't have like a really like vibrant, colorful, poppy level, like Sonic has quite a few. I wish that one level would have like been picked, and it probably would have been best to do like a Sonic Heroes choice from that. Like I could have seen Frog Forest. I could have seen.
I would have loved Hang Castle.
Hang Castle would have been cool. I would have been fine with the casino one.
Bingo Highway.
Bingo Highway. What was the name of the level before it? Something Casino Park?
I think it's Casino Park, yeah.
Yeah. But basically like a level based on that. Like, and Al mentions Egg Fleet, like anything that would have like really given like a little bit more colorful pop to the variety of levels. But I mean, I love Kingdom Valley as a pick for Shadow. That shit slapped.
That was like really the only like not dark gritty one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Space Colony Arc obviously is like a gimme. Like you have to have a level based on it, whether they're doing it based on Shadow or Sonic Adventure 2 or both. Like you have to have it. It's Shadow.
Okay. I'm going to go down the list and give my opinion. Space Colony Arc makes perfect sense as a first level, and I wouldn't change it. I do wish that we got another level from Shadow the Hedgehog, like the
Agreed.
game. Because, like, there's so many fucking levels in that game, and there's actually, like, a lot of really cool, like, aesthetic choices they could have gone with. Like, I feel like Westopolis is a gimme. You could have gone with Prison Island. You could have gone with, like, fucking Mad Matrix if you want to get weird with it.
That would have been cool.
Iron Jungle. Like, I was hoping for something more from Shadow the Hedgehog, and that's... It's a minor disappointment, but that is one of my disappointments with this game. You'd think there would be more from his own titular game, but it's just Space Colony Arc.
And it's not even all Shadow or Shadow 05 because
it's
like I said, it's
because
composite.
it kind of split. It's kind of split with Sonic Adventure 2 Final Chase.
Exactly. So it's a composite level rather than just fully Shadow 5. So I agree. There should have just done a 7th stage and just done, Sonic Shadow 05 representation for that. Fun fact, you mentioned Westopolis. The music for Westopolis was actually remixed for the Tokyo DLC stage. So there is some representation from Shadow 05 there.
Okay.
Could be more, but at least it's something. Just to point that out. Continue where you left off, though. You mentioned...
okay. Rail Canyon, we kind of already talked about. There are better levels in Sonic Heroes, honestly. I would have loved either Frog Forest or Hang Castle or even fucking Bingo Highway, even if I think we do have enough, like, casino levels in Sonic games.
Yeah, but there's not a casino level in either Sonic
no, there isn't.
Generations or Shadow Generations.
And you'd think they would. I mean, honestly...
it's a mainstay.
Not digital... What's the one I'm thinking of? Is it Circus Park from Shadow that would have been pretty cool as well?
I think, yeah, Circus Park.
It's like, it's kind of a shame because, like, I fucking hate Shadow the Hedgehog, the game, just because of, like, how it works mechanically and, like, how you progress through it. But, like, the level aesthetics in that game are really cool, and I feel like they're a little underutilized here.
It's part of his, like... literal identity. Like that game is part of his identity, so it's weird that we don't have quite as much representation, at least as far as concrete levels go, because the rest of the game is very Shadow 05, we'll say that.
Yeah. Kingdom Valley, I think, is a gimme. Like, Kingdom Valley is Shadow's level from 06. Like, if you have to pick one level from Sonic 06, like, which one best represents Shadow? It's Kingdom Valley. Like, that's definitely the one that people associate most with him.
Put in Gun Fortress.
Gun Fortress.
Gun Fortress.
Oh, man.
You had Sunset Heights. From
Sunset Heights, I did not even recognize until like a minute into playing it, and I realized, oh, this is a level from Sonic Forces, isn't it? Because I still haven't played Sonic Forces. I cannot say for sure if there's another
I forgot you didn't even touch it.
No, I still haven't. I don't know for sure if there's a level that would have fit better, but to be honest, I would much rather have a level from Shadow the Hedgehog than this. But I understand that Shadow was a playable character as DLC in Sonic Forces.
I would say in the DLC where he's playable, it's this level, the Green Hill level, and then like one other level that I can't even remember. So basically, Sunset
Eggman's
Heights
facility.
Yeah,
like I was talking about it earlier. It's Eggman's facility. It's based on Mystic Jungle. It's like a Mystic Jungle type area, but it's like Eggman has a base, like a robot facility in there, and Eggman's breaking in to like destroy it or like get blueprints or something. I when I think about episode Shadow from that, that's all I think about. I forget that he had a city level.
Yeah.
I remembered Sunset Heights, but obviously with Green Hill being a thing we've seen like 15 million times, I was like, there's no way they would do that, and I'm glad they didn't pick it.
It would have been really funny. Honestly, though, it would have been really fucking funny if level 4
was
in
Green
Shadow
Hill.
Generations was Green Hill Zone. Like, again?
that would be really funny.
I would have been pissed off. I would have been like low-key pissed off, though.
It was like a virtual Green Hill, if I remember right from that. So like they could have done basically virtual Green Hill, so it was like not real
there was a lot of
Green
sand.
Hill, but,
it was like a sand Green Hill. It was weird.
Yeah. It was weird.
There'd be Chaos Island.
Chaos Island is it's tough. I don't know. Okay, you know what? I really love Act 2 of Chaos Island, but Act 1 is like a little annoying sometimes. Just because
you gotta learn how to use the morph, because I'm gonna tell you right now, you learn how to use the morph, that level's fucking good.
Well, why is the Sonic Frontiers level here though?
Because the developers wanted to make levels based off of newer games. Yes, that's literally it.
So the real truth of the matter is what Landon said, but there is a story bit where like they drop like this line about it's not just Shadow's past and present he's visiting, but also possible future as well, quote unquote. And that there's like a sort of like a tease that like maybe Shadow will end up visiting the Starfall Islands someday or whatever. But like, yeah, it's basically there to just have new game representation.
Yeah, anyway. No, one of the developers said in an interview, they were literally like, we just want levels from newer games.
We wanted to be able to represent forces in this game. Not Forces, Frontiers. We wanted to
Forces Forces and Frontiers. So
sure.
And then of course Radical Highway.
I can't really complain about it being the final level. I mean, it's out of all of the levels in any game where Shadow is playable, this is his level, and I think it makes sense for it to be his final level when Space Colony Arc is the first level, obviously. I mean, Radical Highway would have also made sense as a first level, but
I think their story, like, because they go into like a whole story aspect of it where he's on Space Colony Arc during Sonic's birthday in Sonic Generations.
Yeah.
So like it like, and he's like investigating like some anomaly on the Space Colony Arc because it's supposed to be dead, but apparently there's some sort of like active power source.
Yeah. So like story-wise, obviously it makes sense for him to be on Space Colony Arc.
Katie mentions the Radical Highway being better than the Generations 3DS version of Radical Highway.
Disagreed.
That is a low bar.
Disagree. Minus 100 points for Katie's comment.
Oh God. But I have a small complaint actually, and this is I really like Radical Highway itself, although I feel like the levels especially Act 1 is a little long. I do like the level itself, but I actually don't like that on top of it being a big level, which by the way, I mentioned almost every level has a 2D and a 3D act. This is the exception. So both levels are fully 3D. I don't particularly like that they decided to also sprinkle pieces of Radical Highway in the other levels as like, Black Doom fucking up the area. I would have been cool if he just fucked up the area, but he kept the level intact, or at least pick something else. Like, you could still have the same story and not just use Radical Highway a shit ton. But that's what ends up happening.
They kind of overutilize Radical Highway in this game. Like, it makes sense for it to be the final level, but I definitely agree.
Yeah. I would have liked, like, we were talking about how there would have been cool, it would have been cool to see other levels represented. It would have been nice if, like, Space Colony Arc warps into, like, Westopolis or something, like a warped version of that.
Yeah.
Or, like, Chaos Island ends up warping into, like, some, like, demented version of, like, some other level from, like, Shadow 5 or something. Like, that would have been a cool way to incorporate Black Doom's influence into the story more, but not just overutilize Radical Highway. But, oh well, what do you do?
If they didn't want to use an actual Shadow the Hedgehog stage in this Shadow the Hedgehog game, they could have just used those
bits
as the
of
blueprints
levels.
for them. As when they're breaking apart levels. So
yeah,
it's funny.
But that said, these are all fantastic design wise. I love the level layouts.
There are, like, certain sections of levels that might annoy me, but for the most part, like, all of the levels in this game are really, really good. Like, and I was surprised at how much I found myself enjoying the 2D levels in some cases. Like, they're really fun.
Yeah, some of those are really good, too.
I really fucking liked Sunset Heights Act 2.
Yeah, Sunset Heights Act 2 is pretty good. I like Chaos Island Act 2 as well as Act 1. I am pretty partial to Space Colony Arc Act 2 is really fun too. Even if you like go back and play it without the Doom Wing, I think it holds up really, really well. It's still really well designed. I have to say, so I mentioned Kingdom Valley's peak, and another cool aspect about it is it also doesn't have that distortion part in the level. It's just Kingdom Valley the whole way through. And it's like 4.5 to 5 minutes solid Kingdom Valley, everything about it. You even have like the Mach speed section at like the end represented. Like, oh my god.
I do remember being, I think, the most wowed with Kingdom Valley in terms of like just like pure spectacle.
Yeah.
And like how well the original level was represented. Like, I think Kingdom Valley Act 1 is probably the best level in this game.
I agree.
It's so good.
I agree.
It's sad how good Sonic 06 levels are when
they're in Generations instead.
Honestly, give me Sonic 06 with with like the fucking Shadow Generations engine, and I would eat that shit up. I don't give a shit about the story, but I'll play the levels.
Well, I mean, the closest thing you'll get to that is Project 06, which I still need to play at some point.
Don't do it. It's not worth your time. Probably. I don't know.
But yeah, no, I absolutely, agree with you on Kingdom Valley Act 1. Just
plus 0.5 points.
Oh, we're moving up a little.
For I guess for Kingdom Valley.
You guess.
Guess.
I've been told to fuck off, and I will not fuck off, and I will never, in fact, fuck off. Thank you.
But yeah, I like Kingdom Valley. I also like Chaos Island. I like pretty much all the levels. I think the only one I'm not too keen on is Rail Canyon. And I do actually wish that like Radical Highway Act 1 was a bit shorter. Like, I feel like Act 1 just kicks my ass every time. Like, I have, like, my best record is, like, 6.5 minutes without Doomwing. With Doomwing, I'm sorry. Without Doomwing, I'm at, like, 7.
With Doomwing, like, if you know what paths to take, because I'm the type of person, like, it takes me a while to beat 3D, or, like, just platformers in general, because I will sit there and just like play a level over and over again until I get an acceptable ranking in my mind. And I think with Doomwing, I beat it in just over 4 minutes. But without Doomwing, it took me like maybe 5.5. Like, it is a lengthy level, for sure.
I die a lot. That's why my time is so bad.
See, that's the thing. Every time I die, I restart because I know that the game will automatically lower my rank by at least 1 if I die. So I'm like, I want that S rank. I did not get that S rank. I got an A rank with Doomwing.
Yeah, I got a C with Doomwing and a D without. So
it's okay. I will say, difficulty-wise, Shadow Generations is pretty fucking hard in some places. Like, not like, easy enough to beat, but like in terms of S ranking the levels,
it is
a lot harder than
it is not
a lot harder than base Generations.
It's closer to Sonic Colors in difficulty, where like if you know the tricks, if you know what you're doing, you'll get the points, but it's definitely not a gimme like Sonic Generations was. Now that said, you mentioned difficulty. The difficulty, thankfully, it's not an unfair game. It's just very challenging. It just asks you to really utilize your moveset, because I don't know about you, but this game, we'll talk about it after Landon gets to give his idea, but I think that this game controls really good. Like, really, really good.
I kind of agree with what Katie says. She said it's not as brain dead as Generations, and while I wouldn't say that Generations is necessarily brain dead, it's definitely more boost to win than Shadow. Like, Shadow, if you boost too much, you will die a lot. Like, you need to be, like, really careful about when you boost and when you don't, because the game will ask you to do, like, some platforming shit that you really don't want to boost during.
I was going to mention it, but Al did mention you can still die and get an S rank. It's just that it's very strict. So the thing is, because you don't even have to, you could lose all your rings and still get an S rank. It's just that if you don't do the level fast enough and you lose all your rings and you die, then you're going to definitely not get it.
It is true that you can die in Shadow Generations and still get an S rank, but the thing is that the ranks are time-based for the most part. Like, there are points involved, but time plays a huge part in it.
Yeah.
And if you die, you go back to the last checkpoint, but the timer does not go back to when you last passed the checkpoint. It just keeps going. So, like, if you die and you go back to a checkpoint, you're still running on the same timer, which pretty much ruins your rank if you do.
Yeah. But, Landon, any more thoughts on the levels, though? You said plus 0.5 for Kingdom Valley. Any other thoughts?
Oh, you want me to give points for the rest of them?
Well, no, you don't have to give points, just thoughts.
I mean, I think we covered everything pretty well. Okay. I think it's... What?
How did you guys feel about the missions?
Oh.
Like the side missions?
I enjoyed the side missions in this more than in actual Sonic Generations.
Yeah. Agreed, definitely.
Yeah.
So there are some missions in Sonic Generations that are pretty fun, and it feels like it's like a mini level, sort of like some of the odd acts that were in Sonic Colors that they counted as full acts, but it just felt like a piece of a level. Like it feels like some of the Sonic Generations levels feel like that, but pretty much all of the challenge acts in Shadow Generations feel like that. They feel like an extra level, just smaller scale. So I enjoyed them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the challenges are, like, more interesting. Like, the extra levels or the challenges in base Generations, like, they pretty much just revolve around, like, one specific gimmick. Because a lot of the time it's like, use the bubble shield to get through the level, and it's like 45 seconds long, and it's like piss easy, but you do it so you unlock the bubble shield.
Or you do the race against the doppelganger, or you do the collect the rings. Mm-hmm. Occasionally there'll be like here's like a specific obstacle set piece we're going to spam throughout the mission, and you got to utilize that. Like, it's pretty much just those things over and over.
See, now the way that Shadow Generations does it does it differently than base Generations, because in base Generations there are 3 levels, 2 acts apiece, and then a boss fight. In order to unlock the boss fight, you need to go back and do at least one challenge from each of the 3 levels. so you can get a key, like one of 3 keys. In Shadow Generations, there are, I think, 4 per level, but there are more required to unlock the boss doors. Like, you need to beat at least 2 levels, or like 2 challenges to get a key, and you need to get like 3 keys for the most part.
So there is a point in the game where you technically don't have to have done all of the challenges, because there's not that many challenges in Shadow Gens, by the way. Like, there's like dozens in Base Generations, but in Shadow Generations there's only like a dozen or so, and by the end of the game you'll have to have done them all.
Yeah, by the end of the game, you will have to have done them all, because I remember accidentally skipping 2 of the challenges for Space Colony Arc, and before I got to the final, like, key door, they said, oh, you need 4 keys this time instead of 3, and I'm like, what the fuck, why? And then I realized it's because I didn't do the missions that I'd done initially. But I think because the missions or challenges, I keep calling them different names, but I think because the challenges are like more well thought out and feel like, even though they're short, they're usually like a minute to a minute and a half long. I think they're more like rewarding to complete because the game is expecting you to, and the challenges are more fun and well thought out than in Base Generations.
Yeah. I think
There's
one
just
way
way too many in Base Generations because you get
I think
10 per level.
Yep. I think one way of putting it is that in Base Generations, your experience with the challenges are basically going to largely revolve around which ones you pick because you have so many options. Or
it is 10
or
per
how many,
level, isn't it?
It is, because you get 5
5
as
classic and 5 modern. Yeah. Shit, I forgot about that.
So you have to do a lot. If you're playing through it for completion's sake, you'll have to do all of them. But if you're just playing through it just to like be able to get to the next area, your experience is going to vary based on whether or not you decided to do like certain ones that are just better quality than others. But in Shadow Generations, you don't have to worry about that because it's just a small handful, and everyone will get to have that same experience. And they're good. They're well designed. They're good to play. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really think that much about the challenges, to be honest with you, though. I just kind of play them and then I'm done.
I think they're fun. I mean, like, I definitely enjoyed playing them. Like, it never really felt like a chore to do. Like, in Base Generations, when you get to the boss door, and it's just like, got 3 keys, and it's just like, fine. But
Agreed.
In Shadow Generations, it's like, get 3 keys, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, no, I especially on the replay of Sonic Generations, I was like, I don't want to do these challenges.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's a pace killer in Base Generations.
And I want to point out one thing too about those. I don't know if it's just me. I understand why they designed the white space in Sonic Generations the way they did, because by having a flat base level area, then if you want to just speed through back and forth to get to the levels, you can. But putting all of the fucking missions up top, and it's the design of like the way you go around is, I don't know about you, it's a pain in the ass. I hate it.
No, that's the thing. It is a pain in the ass, and your point is even like not in like the point that you made is so that you can like boost through it and just get to the next level super easily. But if you like go to the level select, like if you walk up to Green Hill, hit up to open the menu to select which act, you can just hit the shoulder button to move to the next like level. You don't have to like walk there. You can just warp there by pressing the shoulder button on the menu. So like they really didn't need to make the missions that much of a pain in the ass to get to, especially since you can't warp to those.
And like the way that they like you go into the level, you just press up while you're in front of the level. Like, why couldn't have there been like spots where like you just press down to go to the mission? Like, I don't know. But in Shadow Generations, the white space is really fun to explore. So like getting to the spots where you do the missions, that was never a problem for me. Like, I always thought it was fun to like get to the spot where I needed to go and go do the missions. So I had a fun time getting to the missions on top of doing them.
One small detail that I like is that when you complete, and this is true for both Base Generations and Shadow Generations, If you when you complete a mission, like the bell that's above the mission gate, excuse me, will like glow, and then you ring it, and you'll get a music note of one of two colors. It'll either be blue, which is just a type of music note that just like roams around, and the goal is to just try and catch it at a certain point, or you'll get a gold one, which will go to a like very specific spot on the map, which you need to like figure out a specific path in order to get to. It's difficult to explain, but like it will go like really like high up on a certain tower, and then you realize, oh, I need to like, you know, use my fucking, I forget what the power is, but when Shadow attacks one of like Doom's creatures and he like flings it in the air.
Oh yeah,
aim.
I forgot that power. That's also another quote unquote power up move that they give you. I forget the name of it too. I think
it's the Space Jam.
True.
We'll call it the Space Jam.
We're gonna call it the Space Jam. So like yeah, like you need to use like the fucking Space Jam to get to the top of the tower, and I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that they like actually differentiated the music notes to like not only like tell you what kind of challenge it is to catch it, because when you catch the music note, you get like a piece of like something like artwork or a piece of music or what have you. It could be anything, but it's always going to be some. But no, not a gun. It's always going to be something in the gallery. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a nice detail that I enjoyed.
So I want to move on to the next part of the game that I wanted to talk about. So this game, the plot, as it was mentioned earlier, it takes place concurrently with Sonic Generations. And it's basically what is Shadow doing during the course of Sonic Generations. And they even play the whole fake emerald shtick again when like they have like Shadow purposely loses to Sonic in that rival fight from Sonic's side in a cutscene, and he like loses the fake emerald to Sonic, and it's like,
I think that's really funny because not only does it show that like it explains like why Shadow was fighting Sonic in base Generations, but it also shows like Shadow's like he knows that Sonic needs like a Chaos Emerald in order to do what he needs, and so he's just like, all right, you can have the fake one.
Yeah,
I guess
it's a pretty cool touch. In the white space, there's somehow the existence of Maria and Gerald Robotnik, which console and consult Shadow throughout the game. So you get more backstory between their relationship, and you get more like just conversations between them. They get to really just bond a little bit, and it's cute.
It's okay. Does it make sense? No, but it's also white space, so who gives a shit? Anything can happen. It's a fucking like dimensionless like white void that Shadow is just traversing levels of his past and also possibly future in. Why not have Maria and Gerald Robotnik there? And also, it's really cute.
Yeah. And I mean, if Sonic can get all of his friends to like show up in white space and rescue them in his side of the game, then like it makes sense that Shadow would have some characters that are important to him also show up on his side. Now, why Big the Cat shows up,
I love that Big the Cat shows up.
Plus 125 points for Big the Cat.
Yeah, baby.
Let's go, Big the Cat, baby.
No, genuinely, when Big the Cat showed up, I'm like, yo, it's fucking Big the Cat.
This is why he's not in the Sonic side, because he was over here the whole time.
Yep.
But yeah, I like the fact that they show up. And I gotta say, like, just talking about the voice acting real quick, like Kirk Thornton really came into his own as Shadow in this game.
Oh, yeah.
He did such a good job. Like, I don't even, like, yeah, I'm going to always have nostalgic appreciation for David Humphrey, and even Jason Griffith did a really good job in certain games as Shadow. But, like, and at first, like, Kirk Thornton sounded a little funny when he took over as Shadow, because he was just voicing a few lines a game, so it wasn't really important to land, like, something really good. But here, where he had to really deliver, he did it. He delivered.
He did a great job, honestly. Like, I think when he was first, like, made the new voice of Shadow as the replacement for Jason Griffith, like, people thought he sounded goofy, and he kind of did.
He had, like, a vampire sound to like his voice.
He kind of did. But no, he fucking stepped up, honestly. There was never a point in the game where I really felt like that's not what Shadow sounds like.
Yeah. Like he sounds like Shadow.
He does.
Yeah, agreed.
He's got his own little flavor in some of the things he says, but yeah, he sounds exactly like it's like when I played Shadow 05 for all its faults. Jason Griffith did a relatively good job as Shadow in that game. So like I didn't feel like, this isn't David Humphrey. Like I was just like, no, this is Shadow the Hedgehog.
I always thought that Jason Griffith did a good job as Shadow, honestly. Like David Humphrey is obviously, the first one, but like I never had a problem with the way Jason Griffith portrays Shadow, and I honestly always thought Jason Griffith did a better job as Shadow than Sonic.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Kirk Thornton sounds like Shadow, and I say that with like as much respect and appreciation and positivity as I can. Like that, you did a good job. I liked Maria and Gerald's voices as well in this game. Like I didn't feel like their voices felt different or anything. Like everything worked really nice. So
I mean, honestly, is this the best voice acting we've had in a Sonic game?
In a while, yeah, I would say. Like, I mean, I still think that, like, there's aspects of some of the games where, like, the voice acting might be pretty good. I'd have to go back and, like, replay some of them. But, like, this is really good voice acting, yeah.
I remember really liking the Unleashed voice cast.
Oh, yeah, Unleashed was good. Like, even Chip, who might have seemed annoying, was still, like, a fitting voice role.
I was mostly talking about the core cast.
You're like,
I rescind my comment.
You're like, never mind.
Sonic and the Black Knight.
Sonic and the Black Knight.
I'm changing my answer to Sonic and the Black Knight.
Good answer, Steve. Good answer.
All right. But yeah.
Did we want to talk about the boss fights real quick?
Yes, let's talk about the boss fights so we can wrap up this game and talk about the movie because we're already over an hour in. So there's four boss fights. There's one for each of the main areas, and then there's the final level because Radical Highway is separated and then has another boss fight afterwards. So after the first couple levels, you get to fight the Bio-Lizard again, and it has like a remixed, basically second 2/3 of the fight that are different from how it fought in SA2. And then the second boss is against Metal Overlord. So like not just Neo Metal Sonic, literally Metal Overlord. And you have to use a lot the Doom Surf a lot to like knock projectiles into him while you're evading his attacks. And then the third boss fight, utilizing the Doom Morph, is against Mephiles, who gets unsealed and just throws down with Shadow on sight.
Okay, I will say, to go back to my point about the voice acting, the only voice in the entire game that I thought was a little funky is Mephiles.
Yeah.
He sounds nothing like he originally does, and it's a little jarring.
Yeah, Mephiles did sound off. Like I didn't even play Sonic 06 enough to really feel it, but it still felt weird.
The thing is I know that Mephiles is voiced by Jason Griffith, so like obviously they want Kirk Thornton to voice Mephiles so that like he can, be the mirror to Shadow, but it needs work.
He didn't really land the Mephiles voice all that well.
In my opinion, no. It's like, I mean, he does a fine enough job. It just sounds nothing like he originally did, and like for the Generations game, it's just a little weird to see Mephiles and be like, huh.
Yeah.
So that's what he sounds like now.
And then they don't make this, subtle or anything, but the final boss is Doom again. He has Devil Doom, and then he actually gets a second form as Neo Devil Doom. And so you get a 2-phase boss fight against him there. But it is... Al is saying, wasn't he Dan Green in 06?
You know what, actually? I was wrong. It was Dan Green in 06. My bad. And also, it's not Kirk Thornton in Generations. It's Robbie Damond, excuse me.
Well, that guy needs to get his act together next time he's Mephiles.
I guess so.
Robbie, we were counting on you. But yeah, so those are the 4 boss fights. Now, I mean, I don't know. I know you guys have your qualms with the boss fights, but I largely really enjoyed the boss fights of this game. Like, I'm not sure if I like all of them more than all the boss fights in base generations, but I think on average I enjoy them all more.
I'm gonna go through the list real quick. BioLizard, they made it the first boss of this game, so like obviously they have to make him easier than he was in SA2, and I feel like Sega definitely knows that people hate the fucking purple balls of energy that he throws at people, so they made that just the first phase, and they're only on the ground. You don't have to roll underneath them this time. You just have to jump over them, and it's like 3 times, maybe 4 times. That's it. Overall, good fight. I think difficulty-wise, it's a good first boss level difficulty and does a good job of also like kind of representing what the original boss fight was like.
I like how they remixed the boss by having him with like the arm things that are like made up of like the bulbs you have for homing attack. Like
I thought that was cool actually. And when he like jumps onto the wall and like starts throwing shit at you, I'm like, this is cool. It's a good fight.
Nice remix.
Metal Overlord, I didn't like that much. The S rank for this boss sucks ass. This is like actually the hardest S rank in the entire game.
So, like, I mean,
the main method to attacking this boss is by using the fucking Doom Surf by using the shoulder button attack to like through some fucking debris so it like hits him, but it does such minimal damage, and like most of the damage that you're going to be doing is like direct contact, which happens so rarely in this fight, and you like really need to be on the fucking like, all right, this is where I need to go to like get a direct attack on him, and it's like it's weird to control, and it's not hard by any means, but I don't like it that much.
It's very time consuming.
Yeah, so that was my issue with it. So like the BioLizard is a fully 3D boss fight, just a heads up. The Metal Overlord fight tries to incorporate, 3D and 2D segments. The main part is going to be 3D head on. He's in front of you. You're chasing him down and you're knocking the debris into him. But there'll be moments where he goes into a 2D perspective and he's doing these attacks, and you have to avoid them until you can go back to the segment where you can start like knocking stuff into him. And yeah, it's not hard. I mean, it will be tricky at first, but it takes a long time.
The first time I cleared it, I got a C, and I'm like, what the fuck? I thought I did pretty good. And then I tried it again and did way better, and I got a B. And I'm like, that's stupid. That's a stupid time restraint.
I like the idea for the boss, but I definitely think that like the 2D segments where he's like doing those attacks, like I don't know why they did that. They could have done without him. I'm sure that they could have come up with some other way to like break it up, because I don't know. I guess it was supposed to be done like an Egg Dragoon boss fight was in Sonic Generations, where it has that mix up, but like that side, like the segments are nice and quick to get through, so like you have to like do a lot of waiting in the Shadow Generations Metal Overlord fight. But
yeah, Mephiles, honestly, my favorite boss fight in this game. I thought this fight was really fucking fun.
It's a good one. I agree.
It's really fun. Like it never felt like it overstayed its welcome. Like there's no moments in the fight where you feel like, oh, you gotta avoid this and this and this just to attack him. Like it's well paced. It's really fun, and it's a good like representation of like the original Mephiles fight. I know it's Mephiles, I just call him Mephiles because I think it's funny. But no, great boss fight, actually.
And then you had Devil Doom and Neo Devil Doom as the final boss.
Okay, I will say I have not beaten this game yet. I have cleared Acts 1 and 2 of Radical Highway. I am at the final boss. I have played it. I did not beat it because I was like really trying to do it without dying, and I still haven't yet. So
it's a hard boss fight to do, like hard. To do well. It's not hard to do beat, well, but it's hard to do well.
Yeah,
it's another time-consuming one.
Yeah,
it's not my favorite.
It's not my favorite either.
I do enjoy. I think I enjoy it a little bit more than Metal Overlord.
I like the first phase a lot. Like where first part is Doom Surf, and I feel like I like the Doom Surf boss fight portion of Metal Overlord a lot, or of Devil Doom a lot more than Metal Overlord. And then you go into the Doom Morph segment, which surprisingly I liked a lot. And then you go to second phase of Neo Devil Doom, where you have the Doom Wings, and that's your main method of attacking him. And I was not doing very much damage to him, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call it here for now and come back to this later.
So I'm gonna say that my least favorite part of that fight is actually not the Doom Wing stuff, but the Doom Morph stuff, because I kept dying over and over. And like, while I like the platforming, I don't like that you have to do one of the segments over and over and over again, because you're just getting pushed back further and further, and you have to do it like 3 or 4 times. So by the time you're doing the same segment that you have to redo that's like closest to him over like the third or fourth time, I'm like, okay, I've done this. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing something wrong when I got to that section, because I was like, I'm doing no damage to him when I attack him, and
I have to do the same thing again. So like, what am I doing?
This is like
wrong?
the 4th or 5th time I've done this. What the fuck?
Yeah. But
I learned pretty quickly that the main goal, or the main method of attacking him, is just finding where the rainbow ring is, go through the rainbow ring. That'll pretty much give you like an open shot to homing attack him, and that's the best way to deal damage.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, the bosses, I thought they were pretty good. I think my favorite one is probably BioLizard, but Mephiles is also really good. That was a fun boss fight. And none of the boss fights are particularly bad, but
I think Mephiles was my favorite. BioLizard is a fairly close second, and then the other two are just, they're there. I don't care for Egg Dragoon in Sonic Generations, so like I'm not gonna care for these because they're very similar.
Honestly, I agree with you, Cloud. I think I like the boss fights overall in Shadow Generations more than in Base Generations.
I think my main issue, is that, like you said about Egg Dragoon, I think my main issue with Egg Dragoon is just like the setting is super bland, and you're just going through that same pipe, and like the breaks with the 2D segments don't really feel like they contribute much of anything. So like it feels kind of like an empty fight, and like the first boss of the game is literally just Death Egg Robo again. We've done this like multiple times before, so like, but like Perfect Chaos is really good.
Okay, I was going to say that Perfect Chaos is the best boss fight in Base Generations, but the thing is that it's barely a boss fight and more of a platforming challenge than it's more of a level than it is a boss, honestly, because the goal is to just get through the platformings, because there's 4 phases and just 4 sections that you have to platform through, and it's like as soon as you like reach Perfect Chaos, you can just like homing attack, boop, all right, there's a 4th of his health.
I think I like the rival fights more than the actual boss fights.
Yes, I agree.
It does kind of suck that we didn't get some sort of rival fight on the side, like even just like a couple in Shadow Generations.
Who do you rival fight?
Sonic.
But you did that already.
Yeah, but okay, here's the thing. I was hoping that there would be, like, even if it was the exact same fucking thing as it was in Base Generations, but with from Shadow's perspective, I think it would have been cool to at least have the fight against Sonic, because when it happens, it's just a quick cutscene.
Yeah.
And I get it, because Shadow canonically loses, but
you could have just had him lose in the cutscene after you get the boss fight. I would have felt better about being able to at least play it. Like, just play it from Shadow's side. That would have been fine.
All right. Here's an outlier. What if the only rival fight, you still get the cutscene, but the rival fight is against Jet, the Hawk?
That would be interesting.
Why, though? I don't think Shadow and Jet the Hawk ever talk to each other.
Because it'd be funny.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. So one last thing I want to bring up before we get to the, two things really, before we get to just the wrap up of this section. One, did you guys get to play the DLC? Jack, you said no. Landon, you said
Not yet, no.
I said no.
I did get to play it. I'll just go over it really quick. It is a movie tie-in with Sonic 3. How it works is that when you buy it, there'll be a ring that opens up in the white space. When you go over to it, Shadow will like interact with it, and he'll like put his hand on it. He'll be like, "What is this?" And then he gets sucked in, and then he ends up in Tokyo, in Sonic 3's world. Movie world. We'll talk about that when we talk about the movie. And then you get to play as the Keanu Reeves Shadow. They don't explain why his voice is different. They do have like mention, like he does like mention, oh, I look different. Oh, but I do have all my powers. Okay, cool. And then he like goes through the level, and it's a decent length. It's about the same length as a lot of the Act 1s, just slightly shorter. And you get to collect posters, so that's cool.
Neat.
But yeah, it's just a nice level. It's well designed. It's pretty good. So, and I mentioned earlier, it does use Westopoulos remix for its music. I didn't even know that at first because I forgot what Westopoulos sounded like. And when I looked up the song, people were like, "Oh, it was so cool that they did this." I was like, "Oh, I didn't get that."
I'm going to have to listen to it, but like I don't know if I could possibly forget Westopoulos' theme just because of how many fucking times Shadow the Hedgehog forces you to play
I
Westopoulos.
blocked it out of my memory via trauma.
No, the song's kind of the song's kind of a banger though, is the thing.
Yeah.
It's just that you have to hear it 11 fucking times in order to get the true ending.
Nope, I forced myself to forget that song because trauma.
Okay, that's fair.
So last thing I want to mention, I only really got to like just kind of say my feelings about it in like one sentence or two, but controls. How Shadow controls, that's a big deal in this game because if the game didn't control good, wouldn't play good. Is this possibly the best control of like a speed character in a modern Sonic game we've seen?
In a modern Sonic game, definitely. I would still say that like SA 1 and 2 are like peak in terms of like controls in this series. Lennon's shaking his head no, but that's okay.
I also disagree a bit.
Fair enough, but
my answer is obviously Sonic Heroes special stages.
God.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You can have that opinion if you want. But no, this game. On that opinion, okay. This game controls really well. It is okay. I will say, like, once you understand like how the momentum works and how like Shadow controls just based on how much momentum you have, the controls make a lot more sense. But like it can be a little like when you're going fast, it can be a little slippery and unwieldy. But in terms of like,
I mean, so can pretty much every other Sonic game where you boost.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. But like in terms of, you know, like modern Sonic controls, like it's about as good as you can get for the style of gameplay that you have.
So one thing I really liked is like if you've played Sonic Frontiers, Shadow controls like that. But
yeah,
the level design is actually really good, and you're not dealing with like shitty cyberspace level layouts, and the physics work a little bit better. It's like the open zone feel, but the level design of the base generations. So you're getting the best of both worlds, in my opinion. My thing with Shadow is that I actually like boosting a Shadow. It is more penalizing if you just do it brainlessly, but I like it because I don't know about you, but like the visual effect that would give off when the characters boost in a lot of the Sonic boost games, it makes it hard to tell where you're going. But in Shadow, like the effect is just dulled enough that I can still feel like I'm going fast, but I can also tell where I'm going a lot easier. And on top of it, just controlling better for the most part with like how he handles with steering and taking turns and just moving around in midair. Like to me, like, I don't know what it is, but to me, I feel like I'm actually in more control of Shadow than I ever was Sonic in pre-Frontiers 3D games. Like, even Adventure and Adventure 2, which they control extremely well most of the time. And you have, especially aerial, like their aerial control is usually really, really good compared to Boost Sonic. But like Shadow, I felt like as long as I knew what I was doing, I wasn't just going to die because the controls were janky. Like, now, that said, I did have a weird glitchy moment at one point earlier today where Shadow got stuck on an incline in Radical Highway and he was jittering and I couldn't get him out. And then, like...
That's funny.
He eventually unstuck himself, but it was just... I thought it was kind of funny that I was like, this game controls so well. I haven't had any weird hiccups. And I had a weird hiccup. So, classic Sonic content. Gotta love it. But, yeah. I mean, that's how I feel about the game. I personally really love how it controls.
I looked up what happens when you get all 80 machine parts.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to know?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm not going to do it, so.
The rocket turns into like a clock, and like there's a little flicky that comes out. It's like a broken clock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is
Orbot and
that
Cubot do not run away from, like they cannot escape the white void.
Does anything happen after that?
No, it just sits there on the overworld doing the cuckoo.
That's funny. Oh yeah, Orbot and Cubot were also in the white space, by the way.
So was Roog the Bat.
Roogie!
Even though she was also in Sonic's white space.
How does that work?
I don't know.
There's like a tunnel.
But yeah.
That's it.
But overall, let's sum up our thoughts. Overall thoughts on Sonic X Shadow Generations. You can summarize individually, you can summarize it all together. How do you feel about it, Jack?
I had a great time with Shadow Generations. I mean, Sonic Generations, Base Generations, classic. Great game. Some complaints, but not too many. They're mostly minor, and they're mostly, like, nitpicky. Shadow Generations is pretty fantastic. I think... Same deal, there's some pretty, like, nitpicky shit for the most part. Like, I would choose maybe some different levels in some cases, and, okay, one thing that kind of annoys me, if you get hit in midair, you cannot recover until you touch the ground. So if you get hit above a bottomless pit, you're fucked. Like, you're dead. And also the fact that he doesn't lose his rings until he touches the ground. I don't remember if that was a thing in Vanilla Generations or not, but it's weird.
You lose your rings immediately in Base Generations when you're hit, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember vividly that in all the other games you would... So the reason why Shadow does that is because that's how it works in Frontiers as well. So like if you get hit to a point where you lose rings, you don't lose the rings until you hit the ground. So it's just a Sonic Frontiers engine thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, I know you're right, because if you get hit in the other games, the rings would fall out of you, and if you fell a long height, those rings would fucking bounce. So
yeah.
So I do remember that, yeah. Continue your thoughts.
One thing we didn't mention, I'll briefly mention it, like very briefly. Like instead of when you jump and in midair you press the jump button again. As Sonic, he like does an air dash. You like air dash forward. Shadow has a double jump.
So it's closer to it's another Frontiers thing because Sonic has it.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it works. Like, it took me a minute to get used to, but, like, I think it really works for the style, for, like, the level design that they have. Like, they definitely designed the game around it.
I like that they do that because also, I don't know if you noticed, but, like, if you do a homing attack, you still can do the double jump after, and you can get it back if you've already done the double jump before that.
No, this game is really generous with the double jump, actually. You do not have to touch the ground again to get your double jump back, which is nice.
And it really gives you a nice option for mobility when you're, like, traveling through the air.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. Any other...
that was a very minor
portion
of the game
that
I just wanted to mention. Okay.
General thoughts.
Oh, I don't know. General thoughts. Overall, I had a great time. Like, I was playing through this game, and it really felt like I was playing, like, I mean, it's not exactly that, but Generations 2, because, like, there really is enough content in Shadow Generations that it feels like its own game, and honestly, they really could have released it as its own game if they wanted to, but they went with the Bowser's Fury route and just added it on to a remake of Generations. Like, even if Shadow Generations sucked, it would have been cool to at least get like a nice like Generations remake, or not remake necessarily, but like remaster,
port.
It's more remaster. Yeah. It's closer to a port because it's not a. I mean, but anyway, semantics. Continue.
It's upscale.
We gotta move along.
It's great.
Okay.
I loved it. I had a great time. Most of the nitpicks that I have, or most of the complaints I have, are very nitpicky. I think overall, like, the entire package is probably the single best 3D Sonic game.
I agree. I'll elaborate though that I really like Sonic Generations. I think obviously it's a top 10 Sonic game. It's really, really good. It controls well. There's a lot of good level choice. I like the level choices in base Sonic Generations. I think that what they do with a couple of the levels is kind of iffy, looking at you, Planet Wisp, but I still overall like the choices they made for levels. I think really, if I want to nitpick, I could be like, well, I wish they would have picked Windmill Isle instead of Rooftop Run, but that'd just be me being biased. But with Shadow Generations, I like the level choices overall, but we talked earlier, we could nitpick and be like, this one would have been better, it would have been nice. So I'm so conflicted because I got way more than I bargained for when I got this game, expecting the Shadow Generations part to be smaller than it was, but it is the same length when you add everything together as base Generations. That said, though, I still wish that they could have just given me 1 or 2 more levels. Just 1 or 2 more levels, dude. That would have been so good. I would have loved it. Like, just a 7th zone or an 8th zone. That's all I'm asking. But, what are you going to do? Other than that, though, I said it before, I still think this is like the best controlling modern Sonic game. Music is good. I wouldn't say like it's like S tier. Like, I don't really consider it like an Adventure 2 or Heroes or Unleashed level of like or Colors Insane. But like, it gets the job done, and the remixes are pretty good overall. I definitely don't jive with quite as much of the soundtrack as like other games, but still really good. But yeah, overall, that level design, fantastic. I would say even by itself, Shadow Generations is now a top 10 favorite Sonic game of mine. Like, so getting them both in the same package, I agree with Jack. Like, Shadow Generations with Sonic Generations in one package is like one of the best Sonic releases we have ever gotten. So, like, this is a definitive Sonic game for people who just kind of like Sonic enough that they want to get a Sonic game. Like, this is one of those, like, you get this game. Buy it.
I was going to say that, like, this is the first Sonic game definitely since Mania that has had, like, this level of, like, acclaim, both from fans and critics, because I know this because it's the first Sonic game since Mania that Sega has actually gone out of their way to put review scores in the, like, release trailers for it. They're just like, I mean, they did 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 5 stars, 4.5 stars.
They did it for Frontiers, but they also underplayed it a bit because Frontiers wasn't as well received as this game. But they are really proud of this game. So
and they should be. It's a great fucking game.
They should be. Sega Sonic Team, you should be proud of this release. It's fantastic. Landon, what are your thoughts?
I don't know, Jack.
Any
Jack.
any final points to add, Landon? You want to know what you're at right now?
Don't tell him what he's at. Just give points.
I'm over 10. Am I not?
No, because you took away a shit ton in one go.
But I also gave 125 points for Big the Cat.
You did. Well, go ahead and add and subtract points as you deem necessary, and I will let you know what the score is.
Okay, so I'll just give it a quick go through. Let's see. It has Shadow in it, which is a good start. Let's give that a +1 point there.
+1 for Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog, but there's no Shadow the Hedgehog video game stages in their not entirety, but like unique to that. So let's give a -3 points for that.
-3 for no Shadow 05 levels.
Yeah. But Orbot and Cubot show up in it, so we're gonna give a +1 point for each of them.
+2 for Orbot and Cubot put together.
And then, let's see. I think the White Void open space area was fun to go around, so we'll give +1.5 points for that.
+1.5 for White Space.
And I think the overall package really would have done better if they just did not include Sonic Generations. Sonic Generation -10 points for Sonic Generations being included in Sonic Cross Shadow Generations.
Okay.
But +1 point for the Sonic Jam DLC skin if you were a Sonic newsletter subscriber that you could get. So +1 point there.
I'm mad that I didn't do that, so I can't get that.
I'm also mad that I didn't do that.
I can redeem.
I did.
I can redeem the adventure skin, but I'm like, why should I do that if I can't get the Jam skin for Classic Sonic to go with it? Like that.
I
feels
had both.
I just have the adventure skin.
I did not buy the fucking digital deluxe upgrade thing, so I could have OG Shadow, because that's what you get for that. But I do have the Sonic, like he's like a bunny or some shit. Yeah. All right, where am I at?
Total points. You are at 17 out of 10.
This maybe game of the year, baby. Let's go.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Fucking, this was, thank God for Big the Cat. That's all I'm going to say. Final thoughts. Final thoughts on this game. Thank God for Big the Cat.
I was going to say, you were at -100.5.
Didn't Big the Cat let you do like a fishing thing in the white space? I don't know. I never touched it.
I don't think so. He did that. So. Maybe.
That's a Frontiers thing, isn't it?
That was his role in Frontiers, was to let you do a fishing minigame.
I don't know if Big the Cat does anything in this game aside from just standing there.
I think he's as useful as Omega.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
You gave...
It's just there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
True.
Anyway, break time.
Break time. We're going to talk about our goings on with our channel, and then we're going to move on when Landon comes back to the Sonic 3 movie review. This podcast has been going on for quite a while.
Did you want me to do it?
Yeah, my voice needs a quick break. I need to go get another can of Arizona, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Hey, Gaming Stooges audience, what's up? It's me, Jack. We are currently streaming on twitch.com/GamingStooges, where we stream multiple times a week. We have podcasts on every other Wednesday. We do stream series multiple times a week on Twitch. Currently, we have going on is we're still doing Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. We're in the middle of the DLC case for that game. Doing it in not quite fully chronological order, but we're doing the DLC case in between cases 2 and 3 as it happens in the story. We're also Landon is still doing Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake every Saturday. Cloud just recently finished Super Mario 64, if I'm not mistaken,
That's
and
correct.
we'll be starting Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster this upcoming week. Although, if you're listening to this on the RSS, then it will have already started in the previous week. But if you're watching this live, then it starts this week.
Pixel Remaster Marathon, let's go!
I thought we
we
were
have
canceling that.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/GamingStooges, where you can subscribe to either the bronze or gold tier stooge for $3 or $6. Wait, how much is it again?
There's no bronze.
There's silver.
No bronze. Silver.
It's
stooge,
silver.
Excuse me.
Listen, no one gets the third place medal when you're a Patreon subscriber. The third place medal goes to the free members. That's the bronze tier.
For not being a Patreon member.
For not giving us money.
Yeah.
Silver,
video.
$3. Gold, $6.
Okay, we're still doing 3 and 6. Okay. Subscribe to Silver to decide on what streams we do in the future, potentially, what topics we do for podcasts, and other general polls involving the channel. If you are a gold tier stooge, you get access to some videos that we make just for Patreon, and there's some really fun ones in there. We got Delta Green, we got did we do Path? We didn't do Pathfinder.
We did do Pathfinder.
We did do Pathfinder for Patreon. I forgot about
Yes.
that. We have tier lists, we have alignment charts, we have a lot of bullshit on there. Shout out to Pixel Vixen for still being a gold tier stooge. You also get a personal shout out every time that we do a podcast if you are a gold tier stooge. So
I would like to also tease what this month, to coincide with this podcast episode, it will probably come out a little later than this episode, though. But if you're a gold tier stooge, we are doing a snake draft for Sonic Generations 2 theoretical level choices. So, like, we're going to go through and we're going to decide what we would include in a Sonic Generations 2, and even include some boss and rival fights in there as well. So, if you want to check out that really cool Patreon video, then that will be up this January. Did you get everything, Jack, with like the web with our different channel like websites that you can go to, YouTube,
I think so.
your Spotify,
Discord.
your Discord,
Spotify, Apple Music, Discord. We have a Discord. Join our Discord.
It's
We're
free.
friendly,
You
we
don't even
swear.
have to be a member on the Patreon.
Yeah.
All right.
Join us. Why not?
So, jumping back in, we got the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, came out right at the tail end of the year on December 20th. And that was a big deal. Like it was really hyped up. So I saw it like the day before it was supposed to be released everywhere, because you know how movie theaters be. They put out the Thursday before. Well, I went the Thursday before. I never do that, but I did. And I went to the first showing they had at 7 p.m. It was general admission. I didn't have to have reserved seating or anything. And it was really good. So, when did you guys get to see the movie, by the way?
I watched it this past Sunday. I waited. I could have seen it opening weekend, but one, I was in the middle of 8 days of work in a row leading up to Christmas, which this movie came out on the 20th of December. So, did not quite have the energy to go see it, but also two, I promised to see it with one of my friends and wait until he was in town to do that. So, we ended up seeing it together on Sunday.
I saw it on the 23rd of December. So, not the weekend it came out, but like within that
Right
first
after.
week it came out.
The Monday
Yeah.
after it came out.
So, in the Sonic 2 movie, going back, you might remember that one revolved around introducing Knuckles to the story. So you had the Master Emerald was introduced. You had a bunch of other cool stuff that was added in on top of, Sonic's origin story from the first movie. And in this movie, it emphasizes who else but Shadow? It's been the year of Shadow, so this is the big moment for him. He's played by Keanu Reeves, as we alluded to. He has that movie pack tie-in in Shadow Generations. And also Gerald Robotnik, Dr. Robotnik's / Eggman's grandfather. And the movie starts with Shadow waking up and breaking out of Prison Island. It's not quite the same as Adventure 2, where he's released by Eggman. He just kind of wakes up after like remembering a bunch of stuff like that he was imagining in his head about Maria, and then he breaks out and he just completely fucking murks the gun security guards that were watching him. It was pretty cool to watch.
Well, he starts having those memories because Gerald hacks the system.
True.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. So
Yeah.
it's all set up because of Gerald. Gerald's more of the revolving person.
He's the overarching villain in this. He's the one that's really driving the plot forward pretty much the whole way through. So he's the major antagonist.
I was going to say some pretty it's a movie tie-in to a video game that came out 23 years ago, but there are definitely some liberties taken in terms of storytelling between the movie and the original plot of Sonic Adventure 2 that introduces Shadow. Like, for one, Gerald is alive.
Yeah, so yeah. I was going to say, I want to go through the plot synopsis before we really compare the two. But after the initial scene where Shadow breaks out, we go over to Sonic and friends, and they're doing a race, and it turns out the race was a setup because they used holograms, and they're celebrating Sonic's birthday.
You know what they do to celebrate it? They have a delicious Tillamook yogurt.
They did not have Tillamook. They should have.
They did not. Do you think my remembering, it was Tillamook lemon yogurt.
Do you think they have Tillamook out in Montana? I mean, they probably do.
Probably do. Do they have
That's where the movies take place.
Do they have a store that they could go buy things at?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. It's a small town. Who knows?
They should.
They should.
Listen, Sonic is the fastest person alive. He could run to Tillamook.
He could go to Tillamook, Oregon, and get some Tillamook fresh from the damn creamery.
If you really wanted to.
If you really wanted to.
Sega? Tie-in.
So, continuing on with the plot, though, after they're celebrating Sonic's birthday, they get approached by Gun, and they're like, hey, listen, there's some shit going down in Tokyo, and we need you guys' help. We need Team Sonic's help. Reference. And obviously they accept. They go to Tokyo, and Sonic says word for word the opening lines to his story in Sonic Adventure 2 and jumps out of the gun helicopter, and they try to fight Shadow, and they get demolished. It goes poorly for them.
It really does.
And so they retreat, basically, and Shadow ends up leaving on a motorcycle, and he does the whole Shadow 05 opening bit and takes off. And basically we moved. They turned Chow Garden into a restaurant. So that was cool. It was
hilarious.
It was basically a Chuck E. Cheese, but Chow instead. So that was
hilarious.
Japanese. I love that concept.
I mean, it's just a Japanese cafe, theme cafe, but
I'll say
essentially for Chuck E. Cheese.
I'll say for the whole bit, it was way more entertaining than the log cabin segment from the second game. That one, they went out too long. The dancing was kind of silly or whatever. But this one's pretty fun as a little just down homey bit where they're talking about serious stuff going forward, because it mirrors. But I think it's done better here.
Since we're giving a general synopsis on the plot, I'll give a brief thought and say that this movie moves really fucking quick.
Oh yeah.
The pacing is bam, 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 bam. Important scene after important scene. Shit is always happening in this movie.
Except for one spot.
It is a shorter movie than the second movie, but it's not super short. It's just under 2 hours. It's about an hour and 50 minutes. And they keep it moving. They don't stop.
Yeah.
But basically, at the Chow Garden, they're approached with more details on how they're going to tackle this whole situation with Shadow. And then we... basically, they have to chase down a guy that turns out to be Agent Stone, and they think that Eggman's involved in the plot, in the major plot. Eggman being Eggman, like the one from the previous 2 movies, and
Ivo.
Yeah, Ivo. And Agent Stone's like, no, it's not him. It's not him. I can prove it. So he leads them over, and we find out that Eggman is still alive, but he's also really depressed and fat.
Yeah.
And basically, they actually are teaming up with him in order to deal with Shadow. And then I believe it pretty much just switches over to Shadow, and he's just kind of like he's going back to the Ark, and he's kind of like, going around his old areas, and he's like having all these memories of Maria. And then he's approached by our main antagonist.
You said he goes back to the Ark, and by that I mean like he's thinking about it, but they don't actually live on the Ark. They live in a military base on...
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's one of the liberties that they take with the...
Yeah. Shadow was never on the Ark originally, and neither was Maria, actually. Like, the Ark doesn't actually come into play until close to the end of the movie.
Yeah, so that's a
military
different thing.
base that Maria and Shadow were at was on Earth. In the middle of, I think, Texas? Somewhere desert area.
Okay, I couldn't remember the details for that bit, but sorry, that's my bad.
That's all good.
But he gets approached by Gerald. Basically, Gerald kind of just tells Shadow bits of his plan that he has, and like why he summoned him, and like why, basically just like a bunch of that stuff. And he's like, I'm going to fire the Eclipse Cannon. And so Shadow's going along with him because apparently he thinks that this is what Maria wanted. So like this is... So it's a little different because you said earlier, Jack, Gerald is very much alive this time. Instead of being dead in SA2, he is actually here, and he's the reason, and he's like enacting the plan in real time rather than like after the fact using like coding or whatever.
Now, I could say that making Gerald alive lessens the impact of his intentions and his backstory, but also Jim Carrey gets to play off of himself for the entire movie, and that's hilarious.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump forward just a little bit. So basically, the whole plan is that they're going to go and confront Gerald and Shadow at this base, and Ivo Robotic is actually going to team up with them, and they split into teams when they're going inside, and then Ivo ends up meeting Gerald, and Gerald is like, hey, I'm your granddad, and I want you to work with me. And then, of course, Ivo Robotnik just does a complete 180 and just joins him, and they go off with Shadow to enact the plan that Gerald has. So they almost kill Team Sonic by tying him up, and they were going to like throw him in a black hole. Thankfully they escape, because obviously you can't have the heroes die. They use one of Tails' rings, they get out of there. And there's a huge heist planned for the other key at the gun facility where the Eclipse Cannon is stationed, I believe. And because it requires 2 keys, and they already got one of them, so they're trying to get the second one. And you have both the bad guys and the good guys going after this place at the same time. And basically... Oh, I missed another point. So there was another fight with Shadow, and they had... Oh my god. I'm trying not to like look at the plot synopsis, but I'm also trying to remember off of memory, and I'm jumping around because like so much that is happening. So after they escape, they plan the heist, and they wanted to try to use the Master Emerald, and they go back and forth on it, and they're like, nah, let's not use it. And when they go to this facility, they try to use Tom as like a disguise, and he's like and him and his what's his wife's name, they go in as like in disguise, and
Maddie, by the way,
Tom ends up disguising himself as the commander that Shadow has a grudge against, because he's the guy in charge of the people that were responsible for Maria's death. And he doesn't kill Tom, but like he knocks him unconscious and people think that he's dead. So Sonic gets pissed, and there's this whole plot point where Sonic will not cooperate with the rest of his team after, and he just wants to fucking kill Shadow. And so he's like, I'm going to use the Master Emerald. And they're like, no, don't do it. And he's like, I'm going to use the Master Emerald. I'm going to fucking kick his ass. So they can't stop Sonic, obviously. He's just too fast. So he goes and he ends up fighting Shadow, but they end up getting exposed to the Master Emerald's power, and then they have a big super fight. Like, they're both Super Shadow, Super Sonic. They fight each other. It's really cool. But they aren't really making progress on the whole Gerald Robotnik with the Eclipse Cannon thing. So he is trying to get everything set up to fire the Eclipse Cannon at the Earth. And with Shadow and Sonic fighting, Sonic manages to overcome him. And they have like a little, like, kind of just back and forth where Shadow's like, man, I'm doing the wrong thing, aren't I? And Sonic's like, yeah, you kind of are, man. They just have a little bit of bonding over it. And then they go after Gerald and they try to stop the Eclipse Cannon. And it takes pretty much everyone, including Ivo, who turns on him again, because after like a lot of really cool moments between Ivo and Gerald's like, oh yeah, I'm going to kill everyone, including us. We're going to die too. We're all going to die. We're going to die together. And Ivo's like, what? Yeah. He's like,
I don't want to die.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to die. I just want to, I thought we were going to just take over everything. I thought we were going to control everything. And Gerald's like, no, we're going to die. So he's like, well, I don't want to die. So he ends up turning on him. They fight, and there's this big rush to get to the Eclipse Cannon, shut it down, and everybody teams up, and it's a pretty close call, but Tails and Knuckles manage to team up and save Eggman, and they manage to kill Gerald. And then they have to stop the Eclipse Cannon, which requires both Sonic and Shadow going super, blocking the laser, and then you have Tails and Eggman shifting the Eclipse Cannon. And there's, I'm trying to remember the exact things that happen. So Sonic ends up getting knocked out of his super form, and he almost dies falling through space, but Knuckles or Tails manages to jump after him, and they manage to use a hoop and get out of there. And Shadow's still holding it as they're tilting it, and we think that Shadow's dead at the end of this, because you have the only way to shut down the Eclipse Cannon is to actually just so they
explode it.
They basically have to blow it up. And so after they had already killed Gerald, the only way that they could get into the Eclipse Cannon to stop it was with Ivo's help. So he sacrifices himself, stays on in the Eclipse Cannon, and they manage to stop the Eclipse Cannon by blowing it up. The laser stops firing, and we think that Shadow's dead because of the explosion. And there's a nice heartwarming goodbye moment where, Eggman's like, I love the way you make my, what was it again? The coffee or cappuccino or whatever, the drink that he likes to get.
Oh, you mean his
latte
confession of love to
Agent Stone.
Agent Stone.
Yeah. He's like, I love the way you make them. And then he dies along with the Eclipse Cannon. And then that's pretty much the main movie. Like everybody that's good, that's good. Obviously, they have a little like celebration, the cool down, and then we have the credits scenes. There was 2. So the first one was a tease for our next movie, and Sonic, literally right after all this is happening, like this is not long after, he's running through the woods at night, and we've, obviously he was going to be okay. So like, but he gets encountered by Metal Sonic, but there's not just one Metal Sonic. There's like a lot of them. And then as he's getting overwhelmed by these Metal Sonics, we just see somebody with a hood come in and start just fucking up the Metal Sonics, and we see that they have a hammer, and lo and behold, she throws up the hood, and it's Amy. She's here. But then there's a second scene where we see Rubble. I did not know about this scene, by the way, and neither did Jack. Landon did.
I watched it.
But there was a second scene after the credits, like long after, and it's Shadow. He's okay. It doesn't show Shadow, but you see his shoes, you see his ring, and he picks up the inhibitor ring, the ring that like holds back his power, and then that's it. So like you get confirmation that he survived. He's fine. Obviously he's beaten up, but he's fine. And I might have missed a few things. I definitely missed quite a few smaller things that we can jump in and add. But that's the whole synopsis of the movie. It is, like Jack said, much quicker pace. Like there's a lot that happens, a lot, but it doesn't linger on anything for too long. Like, remember the log cabin scene from Sonic 2?
That takes way too long.
And the scene at the wedding for Maddie's sister or cousin?
Yeah. Okay, let's start off by saying like I said, Sonic 3 pacing really fast. And I've seen some people complain that the pacing is too fast, but I think that this movie does exactly what it needs to in the time that it's there, and there's really not much filler. Like, there's some fucking filler in the first 2 movies. And this movie, it's just like bop, 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 bop. You got like important scene after important scene after important scene. Shit is always happening, and I was never bored during this movie. There was no scene in this movie where I was just like, all right, come on, can we get on with this? Like, can we get back to the movie? Like, the movie is always going. I mean, except for like,
I will say,
pretty much the one thing is like the montage with Ivo and Gerald, where they're just like hanging out, which is like a minute and a half long, so it's like I don't really care.
There's also much. The laser room dance scene.
Yeah, I don't mind. So obviously these parts are because Jim Carrey playing off of himself is just really entertaining for a lot of general audiences.
Yes.
So they play that up in the parts where they're hanging out, then they go to the they're doing like the laser scene in the infiltration, and the whole like infiltration sequence with the heist, which by the way, they do end up having like a big altercation with gun people who think that Team Sonic is also bad and they must also be stopped. And like this whole sequence is kind of drawn out a little bit, but not enough to like feel drawn out in comparison to the previous 2 films by any means. Like, yeah, overall it's better paced, but I will say, yeah, like Landon said, there are parts that you might think like, okay, yeah, they definitely did this because they want to give the actor some breathing room and just kind of do stuff. But
stuff did happen, I guess.
But other than that, I mean, I thought it was really entertaining. I think that all the actors played pretty good in their roles. By this point, we already know the main cast. They've been getting better and better and more comfortable in their roles. But Keanu Reeves' Shadow is great. Jim Carrey being a second character, he did a good job as Gerald and playing off of himself. Then what was the? I don't know who the actress was, but the lady that played the woman that was that worked with Commander Walters.
Kristen Ritter is her name.
So I mean,
she's in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, she did a pretty good job in her role. I thought. I liked her little scene where like she was like really convinced that like only Gunn was going to have a handle on the situation and that like basically everybody else needed to stop. So like that was a pretty nice like three-way conflict that was happening. I liked her role in that. So like the actors did a pretty good job.
Yeah. Al said would have liked to see the bio lizard besides the old kaiju movie thing, but I guess it wouldn't make sense with Shadow's backstory in the movie. Yeah, Shadow's backstory in the movie is just like it's altered from the way it is in the game. Yeah. And
they sort of have to alter it to just fit in with the movie world because like it wouldn't make sense for Gerald to actually create Shadow if they don't have any like reference to like this like Sonic like world beforehand. It's not like this is a world where like, you know, giant anamorphic creatures run around all the time.
And to be fair, I think that like that's adding too much backstory that a movie would not be able to really fill. Because like
that's fair.
In a game, you could, you know, draw out however much plot you want because you can make the game as long as you need to for it. But with the movie, you really got to stick around 2 hours and tell as much story as you can in that time. I don't think they could have handled that if they were throwing in BioLizard and like a whole prototype segment.
I think that the backstory with Maria was extremely well done.
Yeah.
I thought it never felt like it overstayed its welcome when it was on screen. It was really cute. It's really sweet.
I have one point about that is they don't actually shoot Maria.
I was about to say that. Okay, that is one of my genuinely I was a little bit disappointed that Maria didn't get shot directly, but I think it makes sense that they didn't because they didn't want like adults in the movie theater like, yeah, Maria got shot, like with kids in the theater.
So my only complaint with how they decided to portray Maria is actually they do, like, going back to another point we've made, they do take a few liberties here. So, like, in the main games, Maria seems like a much softer, reserved character who's, like, very respectful and just, you know, plays quietly with herself and Shadow, and they, you know, bond and stuff like that. But she's kind of a little Hellraiser in the movie universe. Like, she's a little spunky. She's going around on roller skates when she's not supposed to.
Okay, you know what? I thought that was really cute, though. The roller skates being like, I don't know if that was the inspiration or supposed to be the inspiration for Shadow's rocket skates, but like,
if they wanted to make that connection, I think for like general audiences, that's cool. So like, I think that's a nice way to tie that in. Like, I didn't realize that, but that is a nice point.
Yeah. And also like the entire scene where both of them are like just laying on the grass and looking at the stars, where like Maria talks about how like, you know, sometimes like a star dies before like we even get to see it on Earth, and like we'll see it like millions of light years after it's already exploded. And, you know, Shadow says some shit about like, you know, after a star is already burnt out, you know, its light still shines. I'm paraphrasing, but like, that's one of the most profound things I've ever heard in a children's movie, actually.
Yeah. And like, it is also quite a bit, it's on the deeper end of like conversations they've had in any canon either. Like, I mean, I don't know about like the comics, but as far as the games go, like they've shown to have a strong bond, but like nothing on that deep of a level where like they were talking about like stars exploding and not being seen. Like, that was really, I thought that was nice.
No, I thought and also the actress that played Maria, I thought did a really good job. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but like she was a perfect fit for Maria.
Yeah.
And all of the scenes involving Maria were like, it was really sweet. And, you know,
like they felt like substantial parts of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just needed more direct gunfire.
I want to see that little girl with a bullet wound in her chest.
God, that's so bad.
You'd be watching a rated R film, but that's what we want.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we got to give a shout out to the real like strong bond in that movie, Agent Stone and Eggman.
True.
I mean, they go through their hero's arc in this, where Eggman forgets Agent Stone is there because now he has real family.
Yeah.
A 125-year-old grandfather that is able to slip around lasers and do the cha-cha slide.
Yeah.
He specifically says he is 125. I
thought he said it was 110,
Nah.
but I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure it was 125 is what he said his age was. And I was like, that's insane. You're insane.
Yeah.
He also said some very dated shit to
Oh, the joke about where Ivo's like, I can't believe it, and Gerald's like, I know, a woman in the military.
Yeah, when they were
That was funny as fuck.
It was like, of course he would say that. Of course.
Also, the hardest I've laughed in any of the Sonic movies by a mile is Gerald's death, where he's just like, no, and then he's just like, like into the laser. Just like no fanfare, no music, just like
no one
just
cares.
dies. It's so fucking funny.
That was a really funny moment.
I think, I mean, this movie like was not gonna hide that like Sonic and Shadow were going to like their stories
team up in the end.
Well, not that, but like Sonic's story is like just like they're mirrored just because how similar.
Exactly.
I mean, I kind of groaned a little when they had the when Tom and Sonic found Sonic's like little like hiding hole for when he first got to Earth, and he like started making it's the choices that you make that matter, and the real ones are the ones in the heart. And I'm like, all right,
it's like it's like you know right away that it's like, oh yeah, this is the scene that they're gonna flash back to later in the movie.
All right,
and they do.
I get it. Shadow's gonna be in this movie, and he makes the wrong choices. Thanks.
And of course they did that whole thing where like they like do the, they drop that one line where it's like, oh, if I made different decisions, I'd be a totally different hedgehog.
Yeah.
Flash over to a totally different hedgehog, and they switch over to Shadow. So like it's cliche, but like it works.
I was gonna say like that. I think that's one of my biggest problems with this movie is that some of the writing and storytelling can be like a little cliche and really on the nose. And it's like, I get that it's a children's movie, but like sometimes it's a little less than subtle.
I don't know. I thought the very direct like when during Eggman and Gerald's like meetup,
where it's like it's almost like we're two characters played by the same actor in a movie.
Yeah.
They look directly at the camera.
That was great. I loved that.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was really
hilarious.
Funny. See, Jim Carrey could get away with it because it's Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. If it was anyone else, I'd be like, ugh. But like Jim Carrey is allowed to.
Exactly. He just is able to do that and pull it off, and just everybody's fine with it. So like,
yeah.
We also got quite a bit of we've talked about all of like the fan servicey stuff, but like one major thing that happens late in the movie is when you have Sonic and Shadow, they're teaming up together as Super Sonic and Super Shadow. When they have to approach the Eclipse Cannon and to block it, there's all these like gun mechs flying out at them, and you get freaking Live and Learn playing while they're going through them.
I love the lawsuit.
Okay. I'm gonna say, I thought the Live and Learn representation was a little disappointing. Like, it could have been more. It felt very, like, in the background, and they played it for maybe, like, 25 collective seconds.
Well, the funny thing is Paramount actually, like, compensated him, and apparently he found out about Sega not compensating him through some, like down that rabbit hole. Like, I guess, like, in that whole, like, ordeal of Paramount being like, oh, we want to use your song for the movie.
For the listeners, when he says him, he means Johnny Gioeli, the vocalist of Crush 40.
Yeah, so Johnny Gioeli is doing a lawsuit. That's what Landon was referring to against Sega, because And it's the only song this apparently is the case for, at least that Johnny Gioeli is pushing with his lawyer. But yeah, there's a whole thing. But no, they did compensate him. But yeah, so you have Live and Learn playing, of course.
I also, my extremely minor nitpick, but I was hoping it would be the original song and not a remix.
Yeah, it was like a remix.
And it was a remix, and I'm just kind of like, it could have been better. I mean, like, they were going to fucking have Live and Learn in this movie. I mean, like, people would fucking throw fits if they didn't have Live and Learn in this movie. So, I just wish they could have done a little bit more.
What if instead they had His World?
Honestly, it would throw me for a loop, but I don't think I would complain that much.
What if instead of that they had Fist Bump?
No.
I would complain a lot.
I think it would have been cool if, like, that would have been interesting if, like, they played one of Sonic's themes and then they flip to All Hail Shadow and then they just go back and forth.
I was wondering if they were gonna, like, use Open Your Heart at some point in this movie, but I wonder if they're saving that for, like, an eventual, like, Chaos as the villain type movie. Yeah. Because obviously this is turned into a fucking film franchise at this point. Like, we already know
Sonic 4.
Already knew going into this movie that Sonic 4 was going to happen, but, like, with the tease at the end of this movie, like, oh, we got Metal Sonic and Amy. Okay, so the next one is going to be Sonic CD, and we're going to time travel and shit.
I was going to say, I feel like the way that they portrayed Metal Sonic, we could be seeing a hybrid of, like, Sonic CD and Sonic Heroes, possibly.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
True.
I was thinking that because they have, like, the whole Eggman's dead, like, shtick to go with.
Yep. To
pretend like, you know, he's done. But one note for anyone who watched the movie. Obviously, first off, we should have spoiler tagged this, but, you know, whatever.
Honestly, if you're jumping into a podcast review for the movie, then odds are you've seen it already.
Hopefully. If not, fuck off.
Yeah.
Don't complain at me. You can complain at Al, I guess. He's our mod on Discord and on Twitch. So, yeah. They specifically, Dr. Eggman mentions about Agent Stone having a clone of him. Or of cloning him.
Yeah.
Which means Eggman has cloning abilities, which means it's very possible that if Eggman might have died on Space Colony Narc, but might come back as a clone in future movies if Jim Carrey wants to. It's like they put the little nugget in there.
Yeah, they put the little nugget in there.
Just to tease it, in case, you know, they want to go that route with that story.
I think the reason why they, like, kind of left it up in the air is specifically with Eggman is because they weren't sure if Jim Carrey would come back for the fourth movie.
But Jim Carrey likes money.
I was going to say, Jim Carrey does love money, and he seems to enjoy doing these movies.
I was going to say, I feel like he basically loves this role now.
He basically retired after the first Sonic movie and said only the, like...
This was after the second one.
Only a script from the gods would bring me back to acting, and here he is still playing Eggman.
Yeah. But to correct, he did that. He said that after the he said he was semi-retired after the first movie, and then after the second movie, he said he was done unless that, and then he came back again.
Yep, came back to play not only Robotnik but
Gerald as well,
or not only Ivo but Gerald as well.
Exactly. So, do we have a favorite specific moment from the, like, part of the movie?
I think probably the scene with Shadow and Maria looking at the stars is, like, the key moment from this movie, and it's, like, extremely well done, in my opinion.
I'm gonna be corny, but my favorite part was the Shadow and Sonic super fight. Like, that fight where they're just, like, going all over the damn planet, and they're just, like, beating the shit out of each other. And then at the end, you have that moment where Sonic and Shadow have, like, a mutual bonding and stuff like that. Like, I really like that whole part.
Wait, I take it back. I liked the part where Wade Whipple is in the movie for 45 seconds.
Good. That was good.
That part when freaking Shadow just, like, comes in, he's like, Or no, wait, what was it, Shadow?
It was Sonic.
Yeah, it was Sonic comes in, he's like, we need the key. And he was like, I was told never to give it to anyone. And then, like, he just buckles immediately anyway.
He's just like, well, okay then. He's just like holding it up in his hand, and Sonic just like takes it from him, and it's gone in a flash. He's like, okay then.
And that was it. And then we moved on, and Wade wasn't there anymore.
My runner-up is definitely the BioLizard reference. I got a chuckle out of that because I knew what was going on, and I don't think the 5 children that were in the theater knew what was going on. You know, because they have to have played a video game before, and they were all probably like 2 years old or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't near them. I would say probably my favorite scene was the scene of Sonic falling to Earth, Tails coming to save him.
That's a really good
And then
one.
Knuckles coming in to save both of them.
Yep. That was a really good part, too. I like
that moment. It was like finally solidifying Team Sonic.
Honestly,
I really like Knuckles' role in this movie.
Knuckles is
did
so
a great
good.
Yeah.
He drops so many funny lines.
It's like he's really funny, and also you can tell that he's like matured a lot from the previous movie.
I would say,
you know, it just like character growth wise, like his actions and decisions all make sense.
he almost fits a similar role that Knuckles does in Sonic Boom, where he's a little bit of comic relief, but sometimes he's also like a weird voice of reason for some reason.
Yep.
Yeah. Just less stupid.
Yes,
And
very
he's-
much less stupid. In his own but he's in his own special way that he's like he is Knuckles.
And he gets to play a pivotal role in some parts of the movie where without him they wouldn't be able to pull off some of the stuff that they did.
Like
I think
break
one of my-
glass.
Yeah, break glass in case of emergency.
It makes me happy that Knuckles just fucking destroyed Big Ben. Just like, hell yeah. Fuck the British.
Just that clock had no chance. But
yeah.
that's another good
Any
scene.
final
Honestly,
thoughts on the movie?
I like that they had for the most part, I'm not crazy about the licensed song choices in this film. Some of them felt a little forced, but then some of them appeal to me specifically, where they had the Prodigy's Firestarter playing when Eggman was getting his shit together. And I'm like, ooh, hell yeah, this is for me specifically. And then it stops after like 15 seconds, and I'm like, well, okay then.
you had your
But
15
no,
seconds of ecstasy.
It's I don't know. I don't know if I have any closing thoughts. This is easily the best Sonic movie. Like, this makes Sonic 1 look like poo-poo. Boring dog shit.
And Sonic 1
Not
isn't
that
a
bad,
bad
obviously,
movie.
but,
Like, it's like
No,
average.
no.
But like, it goes to show that this movie, it's not only just an incredibly good movie for its series or an incredibly good movie based on a video game properly. It's actually just a good movie. Like, critics and viewers agree, like, it's just good. And like you said, the pacing's great, and I said the acting's great, so it's a movie anyone can actually like, I think.
After the movie, I walked into the bathroom because I had to piss. Amazingly, I did not like take a break to piss at any point during this movie, and that's rare for me. But like after the movie was over, I went to go piss, and like in the bathroom, I heard like probably some 12 or 13-year-old say like, "Yeah, I've seen this movie twice. My mom took me to see it with me the first time, and she doesn't even like know Sonic like that, but she cried." And I'm like, "Damn,
dude, I almost cried when Eggman was pouring his heart out to Agent Stone through the live stream before he died. Like, I was actually like, "Oh, Agent Stone."
It's a fun movie. Like, obviously it's not like a perfect movie, but like for what it is and for what it's trying to be, I think it does its job extremely well.
Yeah.
And I really liked it.
Yeah. Like, I would be down to just rewatch it sometime in the near future just to get the details of the movie down, because it's
like,
good.
And I will say, I've never had, like, I don't really buy a ton of movies physically. Like, I'll go out of my way to get something on the Criterion Collection every once in a while. But, like, I've never really had, like, a desire to get the first two movies on Blu-ray. But, like, I want to get this movie when it comes out physically.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good movie.
Landon, final thoughts?
I enjoyed it a lot. We had a great time. I would agree, for the most part. It is a solid movie. You know, I recommend going out and watching it.
One last thing I want to ask before we sign off, and this, at the risk of dating this episode a little bit, hopes for Sonic 4. Is there anything you hope they like do in the movie, based on what we know, what little we know? We know Shadow's alive. We know Amy is gonna be there. We know Metal Sonic is gonna play a major antagonistic role. That's all we know so far. Any other hopes, though?
I hope they pick a good voice for Amy. They made a smart move by not having her talk
so they can
the post-credits scene, so that they can decide later on who they want to voice her. The thing is that in the post-credits scene for Sonic 1, they just had Tails' normal voice actress, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, voice him for like the 10 seconds he's on screen in that post-credits clip. And they kind of like unintentionally locked themselves into using her for the next movie. I mean, like, I don't know if they did that I wouldn't say they locked themselves into it, but I think it is cool that they brought her back for the second movie, because I think she does a fantastic job as Tails, and it makes me happy that they would like actually use at least one of the game's original voice actors instead of just using a celebrity voice for every character.
It kind of just is like a nod to the existing fans in that sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm biased. Tails is one of my favorite characters, and I love her role as Tails across the games that she's done.
I would say at this point, she's like easily the best Tails voice we've ever had.
Yeah. So, but yeah, any hopes for Sonic 4 though?
I don't know, honestly. It's so far out in the future. Like, it won't come out until like what did they say, April of 2027?
6? Yeah, no, I think 27. I think you might be right, yeah.
Yeah. So we still got about 2 years and some change away from the next movie, but I don't know. I mean, I think having a kind of Sonic CD somewhat based plot would be interesting. Honestly, like, obviously, like, Heroes is going to get some, like, play in the movie. I almost kind of hope that they introduce more than just Amy in the next movie. Like, there's no reason why they can't introduce, like, more of Sonic's friends in one movie. You know?
I think it would probably make sense to be able to bring Cream into the fold in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, this would
definitely at least like Cream, maybe Big the Cat.
Yeah.
I would love that if they did. But
it's definitely up in the air whether or not we'd see like a Rouge or Omega. But it'd be cool to see them. So I have one major, so I'm not sure if this would really work for Sonic 4 itself, but I definitely want to see them have like Agent Stone go on like an insanity arc. Like, he's lost his purpose because Eggman literally is dead,
I think that's,
and like having him like grow as a character would be really cool to see. I just don't know what movie they do it.
I think that's kind of inevitable. I think it's only a matter of time before Agent Stone has his own like major villain arc, just because he's had like such a pretty prominent role in the first three movies, or in the 3 movies thus far.
Yeah. Like, he might be, you know, Eggman's right-hand man, but he's been given like, you know, pretty high billing as in his role across the 3 movies. So like, I'm just waiting for it. I'm like, I know they got to build him up. I want to see something happen with him. So that's my major thing. I think if they don't go too far beyond the Amy and Metal Sonic and sort of thing, and just kind of like settle on Metal Sonic as like the major antagonist, I could see Agent Stone stepping in as like another antagonist, and like, but I don't know what their plan is. They could always just bring back Jim Carrey Eggman again. Like,
honestly, I hope so, because like one thing that I fear is that this is the peak and that we won't reach this level again. Just because, like, you know, Shadow's backstory and, like, Shadow as a character are just so, like, inherently interesting and, like, very easy to just, like, write a story around that, like, they were, you know, I feel like pretty easily
they had a lot
to
of
make, like,
material
a good
to work
plot.
with.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like the deeper you get into Sonic's friend cast, the less material you have to work with. So it pretty much just comes down to, like, what can they come up with for an original story in a lot of cases.
So I'm gonna throw a curveball. If they go with a time travel based plot, like you are thinking they might, if they're gonna emphasize Sonic CD, I think it'd be wild but pretty fucking awesome if Silver got involved somehow.
Oh,
like,
Silver.
if Silver got involved because of the time travel shenanigans, that'd be fucking based.
Bring it. Oh, what if the next movie is the Sonic 06 movie?
Oh, God. And, like, Mephiles is also one of the major villains. Like, that'd be fucking nuts.
No. They have to save that for the 6th movie so they can call it Sonic 06.
Oh, God.
No.
Landon does not like that idea at all.
No, I don't. I
What
want...
would you like to see?
All I want, and I will riot if this does not happen...
Big the Cat?
Jet the Hawk.
When's the Sonic Riders movie?
Sonic Riders movie, let's go!
Counterpoint.
No.
What if we got Knack the Weasel instead?
What if we got Fang the Sniper?
Ooh! What if both of those guys showed up?
Ooh.
Aren't they pretty much the same character?
What if we got Bark the Polar Bear?
Ooh, no.
Oh, okay. What if we got Mighty and Ray?
Okay. I mean, they could show up. That would be interesting.
But not Bark.
But
he's not invited.
And
we're gonna have a whole Marvel's Avengers Sonic universe.
When's the Sonic Underground movie?
Sonic
Underground.
I'll take a Bark the Polar Bear movie. I don't want him in.
You just don't want him in the Sonic universe.
No, he can't be introduced in Sonic 4. He has to have his own movie.
I think,
and then be brought into the Sonic
for Sonic 5.
Okay.
And in his movie, he gets to, like, hang out with Team Chaotix. Landon's just looking at me like, what?
No.
I was about to say, when's the Chaotix movie?
It's after the Bark the Polar Bear movie, obviously.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could see... Okay, you know what? I could see the Chaotix getting, like, a mini-series in the same way that Knuckles did.
That would work.
Like, just make a fucking Knuckles Chaotix miniseries. I don't give a shit about Wade Whipple or the Flames of Disaster! But, like, introduce some more of, like, the side characters so you don't have to, like, hedge all of your bets on, like, minor characters in this video game franchise, like, getting you big money in a movie premiere.
Yeah. They could get, like, their own series, and then they could get, like, a small, like, bit in the movie, maybe.
Just like Wade Whipple.
Yeah.
Famous
Basically.
character. Wait.
So that is about it. I think we've covered everything that we really could say about both the Sonic X Shadow Generations game and the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. So those were our reviews for both of those. Now, we aren't going to talk too much about what we've been up to because next episode we actually already recorded before this, so we kind of did that already. So we will catch back up again in the episode after that, which is going to be our year in review if we get it done quick enough, which I hope so. I hope we will. Landon is showing off a bunch of cool stuff that he got for Christmas.
I did.
You did.
You got all that for Christmas.
I got
for the
one thing there.
For the
Christmas.
listeners, he got.
You have to list it off now because you started the sentence.
Damn it!
Yeah, and I already took it away. I got 7
that's why I'm trying.
I got Seven Samurai from the Criterion Collection. I already watched that.
Yeah.
Excellent film.
Classic movie.
Classic film.
Actually classic film. I'm not exaggerating or kidding when I say that.
100% great. I finished off my Dragon Ball Z Super Blu-ray collection with volumes 9 and 10.
Oh boy, Dragon Ball Z Super.
Dragon Ball Z Super. All right, let's fuck. That's the tagline for that. We got the DVD collection of The Whitest Kids You Know.
Yeah,
The whole thing?
Good answer, Steve.
The whole thing. It's right there. It's 10 whole discs.
Yeah.
And then whatever the fuck this is, I don't know.
Wow.
Metaphor for the playing states the fifth.
Yeah, metaphor for the playing states of fifth. But probably more important than most of that, except for Seven Samurai. I got whatever this is.
What is that?
Mason Genie. What is that?
It's like a seal topper for mason jars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
I can show off what I got real quick.
go for it.
I got these two games. Oh wait, not Night in the Woods. Not that one.
Not those two games.
Not those two games. Oh shit. Shit's all falling over.
These two.
These two games.
Yeah.
Technically these three games.
Yeah.
For Christmas, Landon got me Pikmin 1+2 and Sea of Stars. Still waiting for my gift from Cloud to come in the mail, but I'll have it by the time this podcast goes up, so I'll post it in the spoilers.
I'm surprised that has
or
not
share
arrived
cool
yet.
Stuff.
What the
It didn't
fuck?
ship until here's the crazy thing. It didn't ship until the day, like 2 days before Christmas. I was like,
Is it sad
it was like right around Christmas.
that Cloud is going to get a copy of Balatro he did not want before Jack gets that?
Yes, because I ordered. Well, also before I get Balatro.
No,
because
you'll probably get your Balatro
No?
before Cloud gets it.
Okay, well, isn't Cloud? You said your thing for me is coming on the 3rd.
The 3rd,
right?
yeah. Let me.
So that's coming the
double-check just to
same.
make sure, but
That's
I think-
coming the same day as I'm.
Oh, you
Balatro,
might get it
actually.
before Cloud gets Balatro.
I also got these two from my parents. I got Mario and Luigi Brothers Ship and Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
It is-
I didn't say it.
It is in fact
didn't
still
say-
slated for Friday.
I didn't say the other two from Landon for the podcast listeners, but it's Pikmin 1+2 and Sea of Stars, which with Pikmin 3 Deluxe completes my main series Pikmin collection for the Switch. I have them all on one system, except for Hey Pikmin, but I don't give a shit about that one.
I'm gonna get to that one for you. How much is it on eBay?
I don't know.
I'm gonna find out.
Yeah. I guess I can show off what I got from Bethany. I got the little.
Oh.
Let's see if I can
Takun.
find all the stuff that I got real quick.
I got a little Takun from Fooly Cooly. I believe this is actually like original merch. It has a tag on it with Fooly Cooly, and its copyright year is 1999. So I believe it is actually like original official merch. And then also this little Japanese Wario. He's trapped in this box forever because it's a collectible and I refuse to take him out.
I don't know where they are right this second, but Kari had some coasters special ordered for me with characters designed on
Hell
them,
yeah.
including Platypunk from Dragon Quest, Krillin, Estelle, Lloyd Bannings.
Okay, I found all my stuff really quick.
And
Reen Schwartzer.
no, there was no Reen.
No?
There was a Paper Mario.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go in order from when I got all of the gifts. So, I still haven't opened one of these. So, Landon got me 2 games. Not 1, not 3, but 2 games. Actually, he did end up getting me a 3rd game because he's also ordered Balatro.
That one's a Hanukkah present.
A Hanukkah present. But he gifted me the gift of Dragon Quest. In particular, I took it out of the case because the case for this one is just a plain black case, but I got Dragon Quest 11S. That's probably very blurry because I can't get my camera to focus. But I played a bit of it, and then I really wanted to play more DQ9 on the DS, so I went back to that. But I've been really enjoying what I played of Dragon Quest 11. I do have a guilty confession, though. I don't care for the English voice acting, so I went with Japanese, but I really like it so far.
You hate the British?
I hate the British. Don't take that out of context.
Clip that.
And then
I'll
also
clip that.
got Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince.
Yeah, good answer, Steve.
Good
Keep in
answer.
mind, Landon also already got me Dragon Quest Treasures a couple years back as a Christmas gift, so I have quite a bit of Dragon Quest to play.
Next up, I'm going to get you the 3-pack and Builders 1 and Builders 2.
And then the next gift I got was the first 16 episodes of Freerun on Blu-ray and DVD.
I purchased it with the knowledge that it was the complete first season, but I was incorrect.
It is part one.
It is only part 1. Well, when part 2 releases, I'll get you that as a gift as well, because it was.
I'm already happy with this so far because it is also.
I mean, I assume it's everything like right before they enter.
It's everything before the
dungeon.
contest thing, and it's everything from basically when they did the first opening, because they did a second opening for the last 8 episodes.
Yeah.
They also come with cards, so you get like little
Nice.
art cards. And then I got this very recently, but I also got a gift from Allison. I wasn't sure what she was going to get me because she said, I'm going to get you a game, and it came out this year, and I forgot that it did, and I know that you want it. And I did not know what she could have been referring to because I was like, well, is it that Hatsune Miku fitness boxing game? She's like, no, it's not Hatsune Miku fitness boxing. This is a really funky looking Hatsune Miku fitness boxing game then. We got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So...
yeah.
I played a bit of it, and it's pretty fucking fun. I like the game so far. I do wish that there was some more, like, offline single-player modes to play. But, I mean, other than that, it's really good. So, yeah, that was all I got. I didn't get too much, but I really love everything I did get. So, I'm excited to experience more of the stuff that I have. I'm going to probably rewatch Freerun through this sometime soon. And I'm going to get back to Dragon Quest 11 after I'm done with Dragon Quest 9. So, yeah.
I mean, it's fitting because 2024 was the year of the dragon, and you got a bunch of Dragon Quest and Dragon Ball gifts.
At the end, that's perfect.
Yup.
That is perfect.
I mean, technically, we're still in the year of the dragon until the Chinese New Year, which is January 28th this year. But yeah.
Balatro is an honorary dragon-related thing.
Probably. I don't know.
And so is Freerun somehow. I don't know, though.
There's a dragon in Freerun, I'm pretty sure.
One of the gift I got was Tokyo Vice. It's a novel that there was an HBO Max show based off of this. A guy becomes a reporter in Japan during the 90s and ends up covering like the Yakuza. It's very interesting. I've been reading it while at work. I enjoy it a lot. And then I found the coasters. So we got
Oh, that's right. Kuririn. Al linked. He did clip it. Oh my god.
He did clip it. It's great. Lloyd Bannings.
Oh, that's who that is.
Was still bright.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought Lloyd Bannings was Reen Schwarzer for a second.
That's
I
fair.
couldn't tell. Yeah. Estelle.
That one, no. That one's Estelle.
Estelle looks good.
Estelle looked great. I'm going to save you for last. We've got Zelda.
Okay.
That looks like Dark Zelda.
It is not, but it is Zelda from Link Between Worlds.
Link Between Worlds.
That's
It
what
is.
I thought.
I looked up the promo art just to make sure, and I was like, okay, this is the Zelda promo art from that.
Okay.
But because both characters look very similar, I was like, I think
it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
From the art, I thought it was God, what is her name? I don't remember. It's not just Dark Zelda. She has an actual name. Is it Hilda? I want to say it's Hilda.
Maybe. We got Paper Malaria.
Yep. I like
and
that
then
one.
The one I think turned out the best.
And
honestly,
really, really good.
Platypunk.
Not being a meme either. Like, that looks so good. It looks like literally art of it.
Yeah. Well, all of these were like arts that she sent the artist to sketch onto it. It just helps that the Platypunk is like not intricately detailed. It's not a human face, so like Paper Mario turned out pretty good too.
Yeah, I think the Paper Mario. I think just the style of art that Dragon Quest has just lends really well to being put on a wood coaster.
I think a whole wood coaster series of just Dragon Quest characters would have been great, but
gotta get one for the slime. Get one for a zoo. Get one for a freaking Cruel Cumber. Gotta get a Cruel Cumber.
Gotta get a Cruel Cumber. Gotta get Ursa Minor. Gotta get them all. Get a Draki. That'd be good.
That'd be nice. Yeah, Draki.
Yeah. Anyway, folks. Someone dragged this out too long.
That's okay.
I won't say who.
Hey, folks.
It was Al.
It was Al. Folks, we hope you had a good holiday. We hope you had a good year. This is our first podcast of 2025.
Welcome to 2025.
Welcome to 2025. We're recording this on January 1st, actually, but it's going up 12 days from now. So, but yeah, Happy New Year. Hope you had a good holiday. Thank you for listening. Roll the outro. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Gaming Stooges Talks podcast. If you enjoyed us, consider subscribing to our podcast RSS feed or follow us on youtube.com/GamingStooges and twitch.tv/GamingStooges for more gaming content. If you'd like to chat with us, join our Discord. The link can be found in the episode description. We also want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Your continued support means a lot to us. Not already one? Please take a look at what we have to offer anyone who becomes a patron at patreon.com/GamingStooges. See you next time.